In the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started with the folks that are here. And I'll call this special school board meeting for Tuesday, July the 14th to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under
God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Ashley, please note the roll. Please make a record. I think we've got everybody amongst our team, except we're waiting for Addie. As I mentioned, I spoke to her just a little while ago. I'm sure she'll join us very quickly once she gets the link up and running. Move down, if you would, to the executive session announcement. We did, in fact, have several executive sessions on June the 15th for personnel, on July 1st and July 7th for safety. June 15th executive session that we had was, in fact, a face-to-face meeting that we had in the LGI room in the high school. That worked out. The July 1st and July 7th meeting were Zoom meetings. This time we'll take public comment on the agenda items. The agenda items tonight basically have to do with these appointments, as you can see, as well as the approval of the resolution and the health and safety plan for athletics and the marching band. So I've got 8 questions in front of us. And okay, we've got 7 questions, and most of them are having to do with the overall health and safety plan. There is one question on the athletics that we're going to be talking about, and 1 or 2 talking about why is it that public comment is not allowed with Zoom meetings at Pottsgrove when other neighboring districts allow it. For example, Springford allowed public comment from Zoom last night from 25 people. When we set up the policy for the Zoom meetings, there's no guidance out there on how you conduct a virtual meeting, a Zoom meeting. So we talked it over amongst ourselves and how we were going to do it. And this is what we had come up with. We didn't have a lot of experience with Zoom in particular. Tried to find the best way to work it out. And this is what we came up with. We didn't ever intend that this would go on for this long. It was always my intention to be back in the buildings much sooner than here we are in the middle of July. So we apologize for that. We do expect to be back in the buildings and back live face-to-face by the time of our next meeting. We'll be talking about that a little bit later, but certainly by the end of July, we expect to be back face-to-face and not be doing the Zoom meetings ever again. So we apologize for the inconvenience that we've had, but we don't expect to be doing these Zoom meetings again. So there we are. There's a question here. My questions were submitted regarding athletics on the website. Will they be answered? Dr. Shirk, you want to weigh in on that, please?
Yeah, yes, they will be. We have a team that takes a look at the website Q&As, and we are going to answer them obviously Monday through Thursday. We answered even some of them over the weekend last week. So yes, we constantly monitor that, and we have a group of administrators to look at that. And yes, we will do that. And if that hasn't happened, then I would just just drop me an email so that I can follow through and follow up.
Okay. Another question here. This is an easy one, so I'll choose to answer that just because, I like the easy ones. Why is the focus on the band and sports? Shouldn't the district's first priority be the student's education? Okay. I say this is easy, maybe it's deceptively easy. The focus is on band and sports tonight because the calendar, that's why. We've worked on both policies. We actually have both plans put together. The band and sports is simply because of the calendar. Here we are in the middle of July, and we want to have the public have time to review this, and the sports seasons are coming up, time for students to start getting out there and doing the band practice and doing football practice, and the other fall sports are going to start doing their conditioning and their other practices coming up. So we want to have parents have a time to look at the plans and look at them so that we can approve them and get them going. And so we wanted to have that opportunity for everybody to buy into that and then start implementing the plans and getting the students out and doing that fall sports practicing. So that's why that plan is coming and being approved first, and then the educational plan will come next. There are a number of plans and other components that are going to be coming out, being rolled out, and we're going to be talking about that as we get into the meeting part after we get through this Q&A. And then we'll be talking about, Dr. Shirk and I will be talking about that in a little bit more detail. So that'll be coming, but please know that not only does the education come first, but also the health and safety of our community, our students, our teachers and staff. All of that is a priority here. One of the things that I want everybody to know, we do have a lot of folks in attendance tonight. One of the things I want to make very crystal clear to everyone, and it's, normally I tell everybody, I make a caveat that I'm speaking only for myself, but I'm not right now. I'm speaking for the entire administration. I'm speaking for the board. Our focus has been from the very beginning, and our promise and our commitment has been that we are all about the safety of the children, the safety of our staff and teachers and our support staff. It has never been our intention to put anyone at risk. It has never been our intention to have anybody in the building who is at risk. Nobody who has any of the known comorbidities, anybody who is either severely obese or has respiratory problems, who has type 1 or type 2 diabetes, anybody who's undergoing cancer treatment, any of the known issues is expected to be in the building. We are going to take care of those people. Anybody who is living with somebody who has any of those known comorbidities is expected to be in school. We are going to find a way to take care of those students. We're going to find a way to take care of those teachers. That has been a baseline understanding for all of us since the beginning. So if you're worried that our plan or any part of anybody's plan was to have everybody come back to school and just, with callous disregard for those conditions, please disabuse yourself of that right now. We are going to take care of this district. We are going to take care of all of our people. So just know that going forward, the plan allows for all of that. And we have a thoughtful plan, and you'll see that as it goes forward. Now, we're talking right now about the plan for sports and band, and as the other plans come out and all the other bits that come out, the education and everything else comes out, you'll start to see that everything is being done in a thoughtful way as much as we can, because as we work on one plan, new information is coming out and that has to be incorporated and revised. So we're going to be working, as we release this plan and we work on the next plan, we're going to have to go back and revise things as new information comes out from the governor, from the county, from whomever, wherever it comes out. Dr. Shirk will talk about that. We'll have some more discussion on that. So that simple, clear answer got to be a little bit more rambling than I intended. So there we are.
Mr. Lindgren, can I make a suggestion?
Please
or
do.
a comment or a thought? As far as public comment, I for one don't mind, turning on people's mics, as we call on them, for comment. But looking through some of the questions, it seems like some of them, many of them, most of them are going to be answered through our discussion. I think during public comment we should, because it's our duty to hear the questions, but our policy not to necessarily answer all. Not that we're trying to avoid answering, but for the sake of time, I wonder if the questions can be asked. We do our meeting, and then if those questions haven't been answered, certainly come back to that. It's just a thought, because I'm seeing a lot of things that we're going to end up repeating later on.
Actually, if I can add on to that as well, I think it would be nice if the public could see the questions that are being asked. That way, when there's duplicates, they know, oh, somebody's already asked that question, so we don't get, we're at what, 26 questions it looks like right now. So some of them are duplicates. That way, if they can see what everyone else is asking, maybe it'll limit that a little bit.
So, Mr. Becker, can you weigh in on that at this point during this meeting? I mean, everything that's being asked will be answered. We've made that pledge through our entire process since we've been in Zoom. Yes, there are some duplicates. I don't know if we can do that at this meeting or not. And if we can, we just need to tell the public that and move on. And then we'll make sure we set it up for our next meeting when we're in person, so that we can handle any of these concerns of the public.
Yeah, Dr. Shirk, we'll start looking at it now to see if it's something we can change mid-meeting. But if not, definitely we can work to have it set up for the next meeting.
Here's the deal. I'm a little bit reluctant to change the process in the middle of the meeting when we've been telling people right the way along that we have a process and we're not going to change it and have open mics because, we've been doing it one way. And then all of a sudden, because we get 177 people or 217 people on the phone, we're going to change it ad hoc because it's inconvenient right now. That's inconsistent, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. Okay, so we've got 30 questions. And if people don't understand that we've got an agenda and it's to talk about the athletic plan and they want to ask their questions instead of waiting for us to talk about the athletic plan, then we'll answer the questions and then we'll go down and talk about the athletic plan and we'll hear the answers again. Everybody understand that? They have questions on the agenda, and the agenda says, here's the athletic plan. The athletic plan is there for them to read, and they want to ask their questions now before we talk about the agenda item that is on the athletic plan. I'll answer the questions. I've read the plan. I know what's in the plan. I can talk to them about it. They can read it. They're asking the questions. I'll answer the questions now, and we'll answer them again later. I've got all night and nothing else to do.
Bob, I think some of the questions should be answered. Not all of them are going to be terribly clear just by reading the plan. So I understand why they're asking the questions. I do agree that they could be answered throughout the explanation of it. But I mean, the way I'm looking at it right now, we could have answered 3 or 4 of them already. So
Right.
I think we should just power through, get them answered as well as possible and as quickly as possible.
Agreed.
And just get this, because we've still got a lot to go through here with.
Right. Thank you, Ashley. Okay. Will all students and coaches be tested prior to start of practices due to the high number of asymptomatic people? Dr. Sharp?
They will not. Right now, as we made our guidelines, and I'm going to allow like the team of Stevie Ansbach obviously to weigh in when I get finished, and Dr. Ziegler, Gary, Lorenzo, if any of you have anything to say or add to that piece. We did vet this through our team and school physician. He was with us, along the step of the way. Our school nursing staff was with us, and at this point, it's a self-report checklist that is the responsibility of the coach and our student athletes on a daily basis. Steve, anything else you want to add?
Just in following the guidelines, we looked at where it would be best feasible for as far as the screening part, and looking at other schools' plans and with ours, where it's feasible would be in consultation with our parents. Those screening procedures would take place, and they're listed within the document. And those screening procedures must happen prior to each workout, which includes a temperature check. So parents must do those screening procedures prior to that student arriving on campus.
Steve, what role did Dr. Brocious play, if you could maybe share that with the community?
So Mr. Jack Thomas, our athletic trainer, shared the plan with him, and he weighed in regarding his advice on the plan, and et cetera.
Okay. There's a comment and then a question. Sports and band can wait or just completely call the year a wash. And now the question, what other districts are going to have them in place for competitions?
At this point, there's so much up in the air, and I share this with you all, that we as I myself and the board understand that we have the collective responsibility for the safety of all of our students and staff, and that's at the forefront of all this, and that's the forefront of all the superintendents in Montgomery County, as well as all the health departments that we've looked at, that we reviewed their research and their recommendations along over the last 3 months. So, I think that the jury's still out on a lot of pieces. I think that every day that goes by, that new information comes out, we're more susceptible to new findings. And I know there's some neighboring school districts that have weighed in because of their own specific situations where they've shut down the program for a period of time, or programs for a period of time. And I know, if you think about it, collegiately, we monitor our local colleges and leagues, and the things that they're doing as well. So a lot of these things will be a trickle down effect on how it plays out. And I think that you must understand that I and the board are willing to pull the trigger as far as ending things if we feel at any time along the way that the safety of any of our staff or students, as well as the community, is at stake. So there's not specific answers to a lot of these things. I think those of you who follow this in the media, those of you who follow this locally, you can see how it's ever changing in Montgomery County. It's ever changing for us in our surrounding counties. Even at the state level, you've seen the things that have happened one day and one day not. So we cannot constantly update ourselves and our programs, and we continue to look for really some guidance and leadership, from our state health department and from our governor's office and PDE. So that's a constant monitor for us. And please know that those things are taken into consideration really on a daily, hourly basis.
Were temperature checks considered prior to practices and events? Is the decision that this is not needed? Why or why not?
It was considered, and it's something that we will continue to look at as we move forward with this. Not only with this the athletic piece, but with our school plan as well. So it was considered, and it was considered. We talked about it, and we ended up settling with a self-assessment piece at this time.
Can I ask why it's important to review sports plans but not overall plans? And as I mentioned before, we are going to review the overall plan. In fact, the overall plan will be out next week, and there'll be a week for everybody to review that plan. And we'll have another public meeting tentatively scheduled for a week Thursday I think on the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. That's a tentative plan for that plan to be approved. Public meeting for that face-to-face. Comment here. I feel like the athletics plan is lacking in that it does not have the protocol to be followed if someone tests positive. Dr. Shirk or?
Yeah, I was going to say, that was something, Mr. Ansbach, we talked about just today. Is that correct? We have what on the plan?
Yeah, that is correct. So that,
can you direct everybody possibly to that page?
Yeah, so it's on page 21 of the athletic plan. It's under additional information that was recently added with our new guidance that we received today from the Montgomery County Department of Health. Page 21. It says, if a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19, the following will occur.
Have the coaches and assistants, and for that matter, the teachers union, been asked how they feel, and if so, how did they respond? Do they feel safe?
We're in the process of working. I know Mr. Ansbach has been in contact with his coaching staff specifically. So I don't know, Mr. Ansbach, you can comment on that, and I can pick up with some of the other pieces that we're working with.
Yeah, sure. So since June 10th, when this guidance came out from PDA and Governor Wolf's office regarding the opportunity for pre-participation and out-of-season athletics, we've been meeting with our fall head coaching staff, about every 2 weeks. Just touching base, keeping them up to date, any press releases that we got from the PIAA and where we were as a group moving forward. So we've had about 3 of those meetings. We'll obviously do another one tomorrow. But just to keep everybody up to speed, last week we were able to review the plan and open up, for any discussions that we had internally. So we've had discussions again, fall coaches, obviously, because this pre-participation affects the fall head coaches and their programs immediately. So they're the ones that we had the conversation with.
And regarding the overall piece of our teachers, and we're going to get more into that piece when we get into the phased reopening. But what we did in the beginning with our pandemic, really, it was a team. It was a group of administrators, and teachers and psychologists, reading specialists. I think, and I don't have that list right in front of me. But one of the things that we did was we wanted to create a foundation. And the goal of that group was to actually put the information from all the leading experts around the country, locally, and to really fill in the PDE template that was given to us, because it was important for us to get all the information onto our template. And then we had an opportunity as a board, once we got that template drafted, we had an opportunity as a board to discuss it. We had a week to review it. We had another opportunity as the board to discuss it. And now we positioned ourselves where this week we shared that with union leadership. Actually, we shared a draft with them yesterday, and Montgomery County came out with an updated direction, if you will. So we actually shared that next piece. And as I look at my notes, this has changed 5 times since we started this process back in June. So it's constantly in motion. It's ever evolving, and we're asking our teachers union to take a look at the plan this week and give us feedback along the way. And then, of course, as Mr. Lingard said, we're going to open that plan up to the public to have an opportunity for them to give their feedback as well. And really, in the future, we are going to survey our staff, and we're going to take a look at more information, getting more information from our parents regarding the start of the school year. It's going to be a systematic approach as we move forward over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and we're going to ask our families to weigh in and give us feedback along a lot of different components, not only this health and safety, the education components, their thoughts and feelings about what they like to do as far as having their sons and daughters come to school, etc. So there's a lot of pieces. We're going to keep it very, very segmented so that we don't convolute it, and that every week, really moving forward, you're going to find that you'll be hearing from us, you'll be seeing things from us, and you'll be asked to give us feedback as we roll into the new year.
Okay. Next question. How will you account for other districts that are restricting or limiting playing due to PIAA? How will we be updated as data changes?
Part of our again, this is part of our overall district plan, but this information, part of the health and safety plan, there's a communication plan. So this will be a constant deliverance of information, if you will, from either the athletic side of things, if that continues to move forward, which we don't know if it will, and of course the academic side as well, as things change within our county, within our region, and globally our state. So we do have a communication piece that will constantly be up and running to get information to you all as soon and as fast as possible. As you all know, I mean, even as you sit at these meetings and look at this particular agenda, you're sitting there working with email, you're sitting there working with text, you're multitasking. We can never keep up with you. But what we do is our goal and our quest is to do it in a timely, thoughtful way with accuracy. So you'll always find that from us as we do that. But yes, we will constantly communicate and give you updates on our surrounding area, how that affects us academically or athletically.
When parents are reporting temperatures prior to practices, will they also be reporting travel to the newly mandated quarantine locations?
Mr. Ansbach, can you comment on that?
Yes, that is correct. So if any of our family members or student athletes travel to out of state to any of those restricted states, they're required to quarantine for those 14 days. So they will have to reach out to their coach and let them know that they will obviously be traveling to that state, and when they return, they'll start their 14-day quarantine.
In the athletic marching band policies surrounding COVID procedures, it stated if a student becomes ill, the parents will be called to pick them up. This being said, the student has most likely been sick for days prior, or rather contagious. What are the plans for this? In other words, contact tracing, I guess, is the thrust of that.
That would be the goal, and the county has assured us that they have people on staff to help us with that. Foundationally, we will start the process. We will help them out, but the Montgomery County Health will help us with that process and check the boxes that we need to do as we work our way backwards and making sure we let everybody know who could have possibly been, around that infected person.
And will we be asking those students, staff, coaches, whatever, to then also quarantine?
We would, yes. Mrs. Custer, that really was a topic of conversation today with the health department, with this Montgomery County superintendents, and that was that was sort of a yes. So that's one of the things that they're going to work. They're going to go back and give us some more specific answers when that comes up again. Because we, the short answer is yes, that's what will occur, but we need a little bit more clarification from the county health department, which we're looking for on Thursday.
Thank you.
Okay, these next two questions I'm answering for clarity. They're not specifically related to this topic, but it says if you're not going to allow the questions now, then please allow them prior to the vote for approval. Okay. Questions on the health and safety plan are not being allowed right now at this session, because this particular public comment section is only for agenda items. There's another public comment session at the end of this meeting, but that's when you can ask any question that you want, and I'll answer the other questions that were posed at that time. Okay, so that the questions are allowed, just only on the agenda items right now. Any question you want to ask, you can ask, and I'll answer it at the end during the normal public comment section. So that was maybe a bit of a miscommunication on my part, and I apologize for that. Next question, related but different. How will they be publicized? Sorry, new question pops up. Question scroll. Sorry, so I have to go back and find that. How will they be publicized for those who are unable to attend the meeting? So I'm not sure what they is referring to. They, the meeting, they, the questions, they, the plans.
The plans, obviously, we'll release those. We'll post it on our website. The phased in safety plan. We'll have that on our website to be released. And like I said, once we've got it's a constant review. It's a constant draft. Our union leadership is looking at that this week, and then we'll put that out to the public. So it'll be in numerous places it'll be on our website that they can take a look there for over a week.
Okay. Are they letting fans come in to watch the sports? I'll answer this one because this was a question that I asked about it. Right now, the governor has said that under yellow or green, no fans are being allowed to come in and watch the sports. Our plan says that if and when the governor changes that guidance, we will update the plan. That is not something that I or anybody agrees with. It's not something that makes any sense whatsoever to me. When we're allowed to have 250 people gather under normal circumstances, why the governor would have that stipulation. But that's the governor's guidance, and we are following that mandate from the governor. So that's what we have in our plan, and if and when the governor changes that, we will change our plan. For the athletic health survey, can you add a question about whether or not an athlete has traveled to one of the 19 states that required quarantine? Students are traveling with no intention of quarantining.
I'm trying to follow you. Obviously, there's 56 pieces here. Can you read that again for me, please?
Sure. For the athletic health survey, I guess you have a screening survey that you're given to the students and to the coaches?
Correct.
Okay. For the athletic health survey, can you add a question about whether or not an athlete has traveled to one of the 19, or I think it's 19 now, required quarantine states? So in other words, rather than waiting for self-reporting, just put it on the screening questionnaire. You're muted.
Yeah, we can. I'm sorry. We can do that. That's an ever-changing piece. So that document would have to, just continually be updated. I'm not, as far as that piece goes, Mr. Ansbach, is that a Google Doc type setup, which would constantly be, set up and ever-changing, or did you decide on a hard copy piece that we would collect? But we could definitely add an addendum, if you will, that would to that assessment piece, and they could definitely check that box or write in that state.
I would say we're going to do a Google Doc. I could absolutely do a hard copy, but a Google Doc where we could add that. It's just very simple. Have you traveled to one of the 19 states listed on the restriction list? Absolutely would not be a problem. I do want to point out during this, this is right now with the PIAA piece, they haven't made a decision on fall sports as of right now. That has not been out there. So a lot of this is regarding pre-participation and voluntary workouts. So as these questions come in, that's a lot of the discussion right now is what the PIAA says we're allowed pre-participation voluntary workouts up until the start, which for football would be August 10th for heat acclimation and August 17th for the remainder of the sports. But the PIAA has not come out or the governor's office regarding any stance on if we're going to have a fall season or not. So I just wanted to add that.
And just to follow up with Mr. Ansbach there, I think it's important to know too that when the board does have the opportunity and we go through this process here tonight and it does get approved, when it does get approved or not, or we continue to work on it, understand that Mr. Ansbach and the coaching staff, there's going to be 4 or 5 days of professional development that'll go along with that for our coaches. So it's not like, okay, you approved it tonight, we're going to start jumping in and working out voluntarily tomorrow. It's a process. So as we talk tonight, as things change tomorrow, and we finally work our way to this next week, we might have a whole new vision and we might have a whole set of new rules to play by that will affect us moving forward. So please understand that. And I think that'll, that time will help us as we move forward. The goal was to give students an opportunity to condition prior to their season or practice, as i.e. band, prior to their competition. And our hope is to get that far, but we have no idea if we will. But it's a preparation piece that we feel we need to do our due diligence, and this is the first step.
This is a question here. I know that we're taping this, but will these questions be answered and documented in a timely manner for the public to see? I know that we're taping this. Did these questions get transcribed as part of the minutes? Questions and answers.
Yeah, yes, they have. Yep. Yes,
Okay,
they will, and they have been in our past Zoom meetings. Obviously, yeah. And we'll do the best we can based on the number of questions and answers, and we always try to group things together. As far as commonality goes, but we will work on that and work on this after this particular meeting.
The Pennsylvania Sunshine Law requires that we when I say record, we note everyone that spoke and they quote subject to their testimony. So the recording secretary and I have worked on that, and I think we've complied, and that everyone that has commented at a meeting, that's been recorded for the minutes. I don't want to mislead people. Certainly you're not going to get a word for word transcription of the reply, but we give a general overview.
Okay. These next three questions, Dr. Shirk, they're specific to teachers, but you could just as well put coach in there. Answer them now, answer them later. What do you want to do? If a teacher tests positive for COVID, are they required to quarantine for 14 days? Their sick leave covered, paid?
I think right now we should only be answering the questions regarding band.
Okay, fair enough.
That's
All
just,
right.
I mean, we're
All right.
going to be answering a ton of questions on the other stuff when we have the answers.
Hey, Bob, instead, change that question to what happens if a coach gets the COVID?
Not all coaches are covered by the teacher's contract. Some are part-time. Well, let's go to this question. This one's a fair question, and it's another apology that I owe because I'm just full of them today. This one is from Ms. Lockley, and she's right, and I do owe an apology. FYI, I did read the plan very carefully and submitted my comments the day the plan was published. I never received any response, so I asked them here. I'm not sure what I did wrong. You asked for comments on the agenda. If my questions are better answered at the end, that's fine with me, but there's no need to yell at your community members who did their reviews and submitted questions in good faith. So I'm sorry, you're right, and I was wrong to yell at you. So I know that the questions were posted on the site. We did have the website out there, and people were posting their comments. And I thought the responses were being posted and sent to folks, but evidently that's not true because you didn't get a response. So, Dr. Shirk, would you please give me an update on where those responses are and when people can expect to see them?
Yes, I mean, I can. We do have people monitoring it, and I'll look into that tomorrow. I really can't, stop us at this point, but I will look at where our responses are regarding our athletic and band preparedness plan.
All right. Will we be able to watch a football game or a field hockey game? Will there be, if we can't watch a game, can you put them on PCTV? Will there be, so those are two questions combined. Is there going to be any way of streaming them, watching them, filming them? Is there any way that people will be able to see their kids play?
Mr. Ansbach, can you, any preliminary information on that?
Yeah, in short, with PCTV, we could ask on them. Obviously, there's a fee associated per game for the league. As of right now, we do not have internet out on the Falcon Field nor the stadium, so to stream a game would be challenging. And we right now don't have the infrastructure to do that.
All right. If this is a fluid plan, as you've indicated, will the public be updated Will the public be updated weekly on not only on the what and the how? Sports and band are integral parts of social, emotional aspects of our students. Why create a plan when this is a daily update?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I'm honestly, what we're just trying to do our due diligence when it comes to these pieces. We're just not going to have all the answers that you want tonight. We'll continue to work on those pieces, and I understand your frustration because we are too.
Well, we're basically going to have to respond to what happens. The best example that I can give you is that a couple of weeks ago, we in Montgomery County moved from yellow to green. And I personally was very happy to be able to take my mask off outside Friday night and did so. And then come Wednesday, the governor changed that and said that we had to put our masks back on. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I went without a mask, and Wednesday we had to put it back on. That would require us to change, and in fact, we did change our plan because of that. It was nothing that we did. It was not an arbitrary or capricious change that we made. It's not something that we wanted to do. It was something that the governor did. The governor changed it from yellow to green. The governor changed it from no mask to mask. We had no control over either one. So those kinds of things are going to continue to happen. So we're going to continue to respond to those types of things as they occur. So we don't have a way of controlling the governor. So I'll just leave it at that. So when those sorts of changes happen and we have to respond to them, we will, and we'll do our best to notify everybody with all means that we have at our disposal. So I have no better information to give you than that. So we'll update it as we have to, and we'll notify everybody in the ways that we normally do.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. That's I mean, and again, if you haven't signed up for our big list, make sure you're signed up for that. That's always a way to get quick communication. But we will send things out like we have done in the past, and we will be as fast and as accurate as we possibly can.
Okay. Question, where can the public locate the COVID-19 athletic plan? Well, I know it's on the board docs site as part of the agenda for tonight, but it's also on the pgsd.org site. Dr. Sher, can you tell them where it is there?
That would be on our COVID site. We just posted that. I don't have that up in front of me right now, but Mr. Ansbach, that was with when we posted this plan up. That was under our community page, I do believe, and then it was under the coronavirus information, and then it went to the Department of Athletics Health and Safety Plan and for athletics and the marching band. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I will say, when we originally posted the plan, there's been a few changes since that point based on the changes in guidance that we have received. So regarding travel restrictions, that was updated. The face mask that Mr. Lindgren indicated, that was updated. And then obviously if a student member tests positive based on today's guidance from Montgomery County Department of Health, which is now on page 21. So in the first plan that was up there, this wasn't in there right away, but this was added as of today, which is now posted up on in the board docs, and I believe now up on the website. But this change was just directly from today.
So the July 14th copy is on board docs today. If we don't, you'll check. If it's not updated, we'll check with our webmaster. If it's not updated with the 14th, we'll make sure that that's done immediately following the meeting or first thing tomorrow morning.
Absolutely.
In regards to the 14-day quarantine, how do we know, and how does that not violate HIPAA?
Well, we can't violate HIPAA, and that's where we're going to have the Montgomery County Department of Health join as a teammate in helping us walk through this piece. All these things are first for all of us, so that we have and maintain the privacy of the particular student and his family. But we also need to get that information out for the contact tracing piece, as well as information out to the classes, the teacher, everybody involved with that. So we're going to work with Montgomery County on those pieces, and as they come up, and they have assured us that they will be partners when it comes to that piece. And we do understand that we don't want to violate any of those particular privacy laws.
To confirm, for example, if a volleyball player tests positive, the team is quarantined, correct?
Well, Montgomery County would just say what I said. Well, what we would do is we would do that, and yes, we would do that. Montgomery County, it's a tough interpretation for us. And I'm not sure if we have their guidelines on the web, but I tell you what, I think it's going to be a good idea because to post them as well. But yes, if somebody in the particular unit or was close to that group, we would do that out of safety. Yes. Bob, I'm just going to jump in just to tell the public that it's just, I appreciate all your thoughts and your insights. Every day I think this is a daunting task, and I think I work pretty closely with it, and so does our leadership teams. And then have an opportunity to see some of the thoughts that you're thinking out there. Just reemphasizes how daunting this is and how big a task it is. And no, I think that the board and myself, we're going to do. I go back to my thoughts about the collective responsibility. And if we get to a point where we don't feel we have a grip on it, or we can't justify the means, the ends with the means. I mean, understand that things will be shut down or things will change. And we're going to err on the side of caution every single time in this process. So I do respect what you are saying out there tonight, the insight that you're getting. It'll give me an opportunity to look at the script tomorrow when I get these pieces again to help us continually work on and formulate everything that we're doing as we think about opening up the school year. Let alone athletics.
Yeah. I'm looking at a comment now, and it's a little bit frustrating. It says, it's so disappointing that regarding an agenda that impacts us as a community so much that we're not being included as we should be. As with previous meetings I attended, I'm staring at a screen showing the agenda. I can't see who's speaking, and I can't see any of the other questions or comments, of which I'm sure there are many. I understand challenging times, but there are many ways to run these meetings that involve the public in a much more inclusive way. Again, guilty as charged. Yeah. Okay, so tonight we're looking at 181 attendees that are here, and 29 of us on the panelists, the folks that are normally here. And that's extraordinarily unusual. In the past, we've had 15 attendees, a couple from the press, and about 10 or 12 other folks who have been on the line. And I will tell you that I normally don't use Zoom for a number of security reasons. It's not something I use. I use Skype as my go-to, and other sessions I don't use Zoom. I'm not particularly familiar with it. I understood that everybody saw the same things that I did. So, if you want to tell me that I'm ignorant, fine. I'll guilty as charged again. So I was unaware that people weren't seeing what I was seeing. I would much prefer, and it's always been my intention and my preference, that we have face-to-face meetings. Out of deference to the public, I have agreed to this format rather than the face-to-face meetings. Everybody knows that prior to the governor's announcement where he closed down schools, I was on the public record, and you can go back to the minutes and look. I was the one who said that we shouldn't close schools in the first place because of the statistics, because of the science. So we're doing what we think is the best thing all the way around for the safety of everyone. We're trying to make accommodations. If I misread the situation and how many people were going to comment on this health and safety plan for the athletics and how many people were going to comment on athletics, that's on me. We're trying to get back to the public meetings just as quickly as we can do. And that's coming up in just a couple of short weeks. Today's the 13th, and in 2.5 weeks, we're going to have that public meeting to approve the plan, which again is going to be an interim plan. We're not even planning on being back to school to the end of August. We want to hear from you. We want to see you. We want to be back together with you in public, looking at you, talking to you face to face. Absolutely. And I'm sorry this hasn't been the optimal way of communicating with you. I'm sorry and I regret it.
Bob, if I might, I just want to remind everyone, and I, as you, I didn't know who sees what, and certainly I'm not going to try to respond to that because I'm ignorant of that. But I just want to remind the public that, in fairness to the board, because of the nature of the Zoom meeting, they're doing more than they're required to do legally. Now, I'm not suggesting they shouldn't, but understand that under the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, we have what's commonly known as public comment. And actually, if you look at the law, it's public testimony. It's not even comment. Because the Zoom format, this sort of chat or public comment comes up as a Q&A. So the board, in deference to the public, is answering questions. And I know people have compared us to other boards, and some do answer questions, but most boards simply take the comment, which they respect, and the theory of the law is so they have your comment before they act on something. But it's not necessarily a Q&A. And when we get back in person, I just want to make the board, not the board, the public understand that it's a public comment section, and the public comment under the law can be limited to a reasonable amount of time for each individual, which is usually deemed to be 2 or 3 minutes, and then anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes you can limit the public comment period. I guess I'm defending the board by saying they've chosen not to do that. They tried to answer all your questions. They've answered questions where they don't have to. So I guess I feel obliged to defend my client, but I feel that the board has, to a certain extent, tried their best to be responsive to the public. And certainly I understand the frustration of not being able to attend and speak live. And again, as Bob said, I'm not going to comment on that because it's not my expertise, but certainly I do want to suggest that this board has gone, particularly tonight, beyond the call of duty by going through and answering questions. So I just want everybody to understand what we're required to do and what we are doing.
I'm sorry, I'm not complaining. Don't misunderstand. I'm not complaining. We all volunteered for this. We all ran for these seats, and we're all here serving the public because we choose to. That's not my complaint. What I'm expressing is that we're trying to get through this, and we make assumptions. We make decisions based on what we believe we understand about the people that we're representing and serving. And based on the other meetings that we've had where we had fairly low attendance, I made the assumption that this plan, which affected a number of people, but not as many people, would have a similar number of folks attending and participating. So we were going to run it the same way we ran the other meetings, which was this Zoom meeting, and have the same sort of number of people attending. I was wrong. There are many, many more people, and they're asking about a plan that's not under consideration. They're asking about the health and safety plan, which we're not even talking about tonight. So I misread, and so not prepared to talk about that plan tonight. And that's just a mistake. So people are necessarily disappointed because they came here thinking there was going to be one thing talked about, and we're talking about something else, which is of interest, but not as much interest as what they wanted to talk about and hear about. So naturally, they're going to be disappointed. Naturally, they're frustrated. Naturally, they're irritated because they want to be talking about something else. So I understand that. So it's not meeting their expectations at any level. Because in addition to that, not only are we not talking what they want to talk about, they can't see anybody. And all they're looking at is an agenda and a bunch of questions about something they don't even want to be talking about. So yeah, they're frustrated on top of all that. I get it. So they don't want to hear my problems. They want to have answers to their questions.
Well, Mr. Lehman, if I I appreciate your thoughts, and I really just want to tell the public too that when we get the plan out to you, you will have time to look at it. And I hope that there's 180 people that are interested in looking at it and give us the same type of feedback. And what I will take back to my administrative team as we meet tomorrow is thinking about maybe a depository, again, a comment piece to make sure that we already have, but just to ramp that up a bit to make sure that we get the Q&A back to you as quickly as possible over this review period. But it's hard for us, I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed in our community at all. I respect what you're saying, but it's tough to take public comment and not have it go astray. So I respect your questions. I respect your comments and online that you're giving us and the answers so far that we've given you. And I just think that, we're going to continue to reach out and get as much information out to you and have that communication. So there's a lot of ways for us to go back and reflect on tonight's meeting and future meetings. Just know that in these times, and maybe you've heard unprecedented like forever over the last 4 months. But please know that we will look at all angles of communication, the physical piece, as well as the the online piece, the email pieces, etc. And as Mr. Lingman has said, our hope is as we get back in front of you in person, a lot of these questions can be answered and things can go a little bit smoother. So thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
If I can just
go ahead.
add something. Oh, all right. Am I talking to you, Ashley?
No, go right ahead, Jim.
All right. I was just going to say that for whenever a lot of people ask questions for the athletics, and reading through it, I saw questions I had not thought to ask myself. So it was really helpful to have those there. And I sort of was expecting to have those answers prior to voting on it tonight. Could we make sure that when we get around to the reentry for school, the plan, the one that we'll be posting supposedly later this week, could we make sure that the questions that are posted, possibly have it so that the answers are posted as well as we go along, so that, I mean, it helps us, the board, as well, because there's a lot of people out there looking at this from all different angles. So when we can hear their thoughts, they come up with questions that we don't have, and viewpoints that we don't have. So being able to see the answers to their questions helps us to make an informed decision. So I would appreciate being able to have those answers posted as they come up.
Can I make
Sorry,
a
Ashley,
comment?
go ahead.
That's all right, Jim. Thank you. I just have a quick little suggestion. I know when we were going through the whole, graduation thing, they were doing some virtual town halls, and I think in this case, it would be an excellent idea to try to do one. Obviously, a little late to the party for this particular plan, but I think for the actual reopening plan, I don't know how they work. I did not do one. I have not participated in one. But I'm hoping that maybe we can do something like that where people can get their questions answered, and we're not on a time crunch to try to get the rest of the meeting finished. And it can be just something that's dedicated purely to answering the multitude of questions that are going to come in about the school reopening.
Mrs. Custer, I think that's like we've done in the past. That is something we can talk about as a board as we go through the process the next couple of weeks to decide how many steps and what kind of steps we want to take to get to a position where we all feel comfortable in approving the next step. So I think that'll be something that we can definitely talk about as a board and what that would look like.
I just have one last point. Is my mic on? Yeah. I have one last point. This is my 6th hour. I was checking my watch, not because I'm bored, but I wanted to check some facts. This is my 6th hour of Zoom meetings today. I've been going to public meetings for 50 years. This is not the format for a discussion. But it's the format we're forced into, and we have to accommodate it. And I think we've done, you guys have done. I've been an audience here. I've been a potted plant. I've just been listening. But I think the team has done a very good job at trying to present facts. Yeah, we could have done it better. We could have all done anything in our lives better. And there are a list of improvements down the road. But what we're forgetting is this act of having Zoom meetings and doing something similar for our kids when the school opens up in a hybrid model is a new experience for all of us, and we're still in the learning curve. So, Bob, don't feel bad. We're learning how to do it, and we have to learn how to do it in front of 200 and some odd people. And so there will be moments where you're going to come out looking like me, a jerk. End of comment.
Well, I don't need any help with that. as I said, my intention is to get back to face as quickly as possible, um, so that we can get on and get back to meeting with people and talking to them face to face, because it's much more efficient, much better, and it's the way I prefer to do business anyway. Everything loses something in translation anyway. I I do respect everybody else's time. We're now looking at, sort of an hour and 15 minutes into the meeting. We're still on public comment, so let's see what we can get to from here. HIPAA, plan carefully. Yeah, just saying. Next question, how does marching band work if masks are state mandated and the students are so close together, blowing in the instruments, allowing droplets to flow along the group? I know this was something that was talked about with masks, no masks, and instruments, drums versus trumpets and so on. Somebody care to answer that one?
Mr. Osbach, can you jump in with that piece? Because we talked about some of those the physical distancing pieces with the band, and I know Dr. Ziegler, you were also part of that. If you could add any clarity, that would be appreciative.
Yeah, so I mean, the central setup is when students cannot be 6 feet apart or playing 6 feet apart, they need to be having masks on. So all students at all times must be 6 feet apart. If they're 6 feet apart, they can take their masks off and begin playing. That's listed in the athletic band marching phases 1 and 2. Placed at 6 foot intervals. When they're doing drills, they're 22.5 per step, 3-step intervals for drills and on-field formation. So working with our band director, we will apply those social distancing procedures regarding wearing masks. Anytime students cannot stay within 6 feet, they'll have to put the masks on.
We also ran this, this is Dr. Ziegler, Bill Ziegler. We also ran this plan by Mrs. Zarafal. She believes that we can do this. We have a big enough area where we can spread the students out. Actually, marching band in general can spread out pretty easily. So she's ready to do that. Mr. Onspot's done a really nice job of working closely with her to make sure that we're abiding by the distancing.
There was a question on there that I'll answer to it regarding the pod. So in the initial phase, it's in groups of 5 to 10, and that's just based on contact tracing. In the event we get to move forward and things approve, that number would change as we move through the phases. So that's just to answer that question regarding what are the numbers of pods, which are 5 to 10, and that can change obviously as time changes and things improve, or they could go the other way as well.
All right. Next and related. Pottsgrove employee and live in this community. How is it possible to keep the band and athletes safe, healthy, and distancing when that is not what occurs with these activities? In addition to that question, I'd like to remind you that many of our students and staff, particularly our special education students, have compromised immune systems. I also have many of the dangerous conditions that you've listed. My concern is that it is too soon for all students and staff to be entering the buildings, especially those with higher health risks. Will there still be the option, regardless of the school reopening, for there to be online learning? Please don't, okay, we've strayed. Stop. Okay. So the first half, how is it possible to keep the band and athletes safe, healthy, and distancing when that is not what occurs with these activities? So that just answered that one. That is the part of the agenda.
Would it be easier for you if I started scrolling through and just sort of pointing you to the next questions that are relevant and haven't already been answered?
That would be swell.
Okay. All right. So the next one submitted at 8:12. I think that one's relevant. I can say the person's name too if they'd appreciate that. Catherine Jorgensen. And I don't think we have an answer to that yet, but
My clock is weird. My clock doesn't have anything at
okay.
8.
Just read the question.
Okay, so the question is, if it is deemed necessary an athlete student be tested for COVID, where will that testing take place? Is the parent responsible for having the student tested at their PCP, or will the district provide testing? How will testing be done should suspected illness occur after school hours at a sporting event or practice? I think we already sort of touched on this, which was sort of a, we're not quite sure yet. And we're waiting on more information from, I think, Montgomery County. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, you are, Mrs. Custer. That would go back at this point. They did indicate that at this point, I think there was a pipe dream in the county about 3 months ago that they were going to have the capability of testing over 750,000 people by the fall. We haven't heard anything about that piece. So, the student would have to get tested with a personal physician. At this point, the district is not involving itself in testing. And then, of course, if it happens after school hours, our hope is that the hope, and I say that, and the expectation would be that the student athlete, the parent, and the coach would have some type of the ability, if you will, like triangulation between the three of them to get that information to the district, our district, directors like Mr. Ansbach or Phil Ziegler, the principal, if it's the high school, or Mr. Boyer, the middle school, and then we would then contact the Department of Health, and then move it from there. We put that has to go to them because they have to be really a teammate, if you will, with this.
Okay, so the next one from Nancy Fox Kutz. I'm also curious about what happens if a coach tests positive. Are we not answering that question after all? I think that's we have, I believe, answered it as best as we can, which is we're not quite sure yet. We're still waiting on more guidance, correct?
If a coach tests positive, we would follow the same procedures, if you will, on page 21. If a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19, the following will occur. So if you go to that, it tells you starts 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. It tells you all the pieces of what we will do as far as the contacts we make. I don't want to. There's a list of like 15 things there. But and then there's also a return to student athlete or staff to athletics following the COVID diagnosis as well. That's on page 21 again. Can you confirm that, Steve? That's the same thing we're talking about.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yes. So yes, Ms. Kurtz, that would be on page 21 of tonight's agenda under health and safety for athletes.
And then that also helps to answer the question after that, which is asking about an athlete testing. Would the team be down for 14 days? Explain how this would work in relation to the discussions in or drafted date. So I think we can also direct, that's Nuna Business, direct her to that page also. The next question would be, when something changes, what is a realistic time frame for communication to come from the school in regards to policy changes for athletics and band? And that's from Julie Schermacher.
Julie, that would be as soon as possible. Again, we don't have as soon as we know and we can get accurate information and we can get that back out to our public, our teammates in that case, coaches, the families, we will do it. As soon as possible, we will follow those guidelines and who we notify, when we notify.
I add a comment real quick to that, just to be clear, historically so far through this pandemic, both state and county have not historically been giving us a heads up. So oftentimes when you hear something on the news, we're often hearing it just about at the same time.
That's very true. All right, next question from Daryl Tillman. Will every school within the Pac-10 be following the same rules for COVID and athletics?
Mr. Ansbach, feel free.
Yeah, so as of right now, when we were developing this plan, PIAA, this is pre-participation voluntary workouts. That is what we've been given from our state and from our governor. When the fall sports, if we are allowed to move on from fall sports, there's going to be additional guidance regarding what we're doing when we're competing against other schools, when we're going to schools, when schools are coming to us. And that's not even in the PAC. It could be outside of the PAC in non-league competitions as well. We have not received that yet from the state. There's going to be a meeting, I believe there's a meeting on Thursday where we hope to receive more guidance. And obviously, if we move forward, the PIAA continues to move forward with a fall sports season, that will be reflected in this plan.
All right, I'm scrolling through. Bob, do you see any that you don't feel you've answered? A lot of the there's more comments at the bottom and not as many questions.
Right. There's the question about if students can gather up to 250, why can't they just show up at sporting events?
Right. Which we sort of answered. You answered already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mrs. Custer, there was at 8:27, there was a question from Catherine Jorgensen about we are doing no COVID testing on the Pottsgrove campus at this time. If the county changes their current protocols, then obviously we would jump in on those pieces. But just want to clarify that.
Yeah, I don't see.
Hey, Ashley, how about the comment that 8:29?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for some reason, Dr. Shurkut says that you would like to answer this question. If we play a school on a Friday night and then one of their players tests positive, are they under obligation to tell us? And that's from Marisa Neeson.
Yeah, that's pretty neat because I accidentally clicked that, so I didn't.
Okay, all right.
That's okay. That's cool. That's no problem. Yes, they are. They are under obligation to tell us before any ball gets kicked off or any events would start. So that would be something that would be an expectation of any school that we would come in contact with.
What about after the fact? I think she's saying, like, if we play them on a Friday and then Saturday morning one of their players, gets sick, are they still obligated to tell us?
Great question. I want to say yes, and I would think that is something, when I talk with my superintendent group again on Thursday, I'll bring that piece up. I mean, yes, it has to be. We're all in this together. If we don't take this responsibility, we have to all take the responsibility, no matter how big or how small. So that was something that I'll definitely bring up with our group to make sure that if we get to that point, that we'll follow that. Yep.
Okay. Next question I see doesn't have an answer. The plan for the band has phases. What is the criteria to move between the phases? In phase 1, the band can't go into the building. If it rains and a student must wait for a ride, where does the student and their instrument take shelter? Yeah, so I'll leave that one out to you. Now, I didn't know that it had phases. I thought it was a
Mr. Ramos?
red, yellow, green thing. I didn't think it was phases.
Yeah, in athletic phase 1 and 2, we're during these.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm sorry. You're right.
During these pre-participation voluntary workouts, we are restricting anybody coming into the building. Obviously, weather plays a role. So in the event that we're going to have bad weather, those practices must be canceled. We need to evaluate the weather too, what it looks like, during that daytime. If we know storms are in the forecast, we're going to have to make a responsible decision to cancel practice. In the event weather comes in, we obviously have to take safety into consideration with that regarding thunderstorms and things of that nature. So we'll put protocols in place, whether we have to bring students in the gym and keep them 6 feet apart. In the event of lightning, that's something we may need to have to do. But the purpose of, we talked about just not being in the building, is to limit people being inside during these pre-participation voluntary workout phases.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's another one. How will events like senior night be handled if spectators are not allowed? And that's from Christine Morris.
Dr. Shirk, you want me to answer that one?
Please.
Yeah, Pottsgrove Families, we did we worked really hard during our virtual commencement to honor our students as much as possible. We would do the exact same thing as much as possible with our senior nights in a way that could engage the families. We know that's a really important night, and there's just some things that you can never get back, and senior night's one of them. So we would do everything we can to make this memorable in creative ways that are engaging to the community and allows a parent to participate in a way that's safe and follows the governmental restrictions. So we would do a number of things to make that happen.
Okay. At this point, I think we've reached the end of the 85 questions that are related to that plan and the agenda items for tonight. If I've made a mistake, if anybody wants to quick type in their question or say, you didn't answer it yet or whatever, I'd appreciate that. Otherwise, I'd like to get started with the action items. I'll wait for a minute to see if anybody pops up.
I just want to.
One that just popped up.
In the chat.
Yeah, in the chat. From Sarah Becker Freilich. Clarify 3 steps versus 6 feet in band. I was never a band parent, so I have no idea.
I could jump in, Mr. Onspach. So, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the students social distance. And there's some things in the field, on the parking lot, marking out the yardage and the spacing, which actually makes it a little bit easier for them because they can actually physically see, just like a football player could on a 100-yard field. So, whether it be the 22.5 3-step interval, we are going to make sure that they are 6 feet apart and working to do that, because we understand the importance with music that they are 6 feet apart and safely separated. So we can assure you that that's going to happen.
Okay, good. All right.
Did we get that last question? Sorry, I had to step away. I need to get a charging cord.
Yeah, the 3 steps, 6 steps. I think we're good.
There was one more. How do you safely separate for contact sports? That's from Julie Schermacher at 9:05 p.m.
Yeah, so in this pre-participation, these are voluntary workouts where the focus is going to be on conditioning with 6 feet apart. That's it for right now. In the event things change and we were able to move to a different phase through the recommended guidelines, we'll move in that direction. But as of right now, the focus is going to be on staying 6 feet apart with doing conditioning type drills and skill-based drills. That's it for right now.
Okay, and then there's one more from Stacy Hebert at 9:04 p.m. How are referees going to be handled and or screened, being that they travel to different schools? I assume that's sort of I mean, you just sort of answered that stating that we won't really be doing, this is just for practice and conditioning right now, correct?
Correct. That we will have to wait till we get some guidance from PD, PIAA of how we're going to handle officials.
Okay.
Because that's going to be from school to school, and from school to school may have different protocols. So there might be one protocol in place for PIAA competitions, but we have yet to hear that from the state.
Okay. And then Larry Scarnato asked if, he said he missed the answer about why parents couldn't watch the football games. If we're going to following the state guidelines, and the state guidelines basically came from the governor, and the governor said parents couldn't watch the football games. So that's the answer. So that brings us to the end of that. And we'll go ahead and start with the action items then, starting with 4.1, Dr. Shirk.
Thank you, Mr. Lingren. If I may, let me just check out a Q&A here. Really, it gives me a great privilege tonight to make this recommendation for appointment. Dr. Christopher Stango is being recommended by the administration to be the principal of Ringing Rocks Elementary School, replacing Dr. Lisa Jones, who just recently retired. Dr. Stango was currently the principal of Robertson Elementary School in the Twin Valley School District. He has held that position since 2014. Prior to that, he was an assistant principal at Lionville Middle School in Downingtown for 4 years. Dr. Stango also held both administrative and teaching positions in the O&J Roberts School District for 10 years. It is my pleasure to recommend him to the board, and I just wanted to have the board to take this recommendation as submitted.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dr. Stango as principal of Ringing Rocks. My motion is specific to that, as I'd like to have a second motion voting separately on his salary, if we may.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for the appointment of Dr. Stango. Any questions on that? No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say no. And I'd like to express my congratulations and welcome to Dr. Stango. And well done. Thank you very much to the Personnel Committee and all of those folks that were involved in the interviewing process and for the selection. Thank you very much for everybody.
Mr. Parker, I just want to.
We need a second motion.
Please, thank you.
So Dr. Parker, I'm assuming you don't want to make that second motion. Is that correct?
Thank you for the promotion to doctor, but that's correct. I won't be making that motion, but I did want to make clear that if anyone needed to make that motion, they can do so.
Would somebody please make the second motion on the salary?
So moved.
Can I call you Dr. Nibbert? Thank you.
Yes, you can call me that, but I'm not sure why, but
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lappick. We have a motion and a second for the salary in the amount of
119,000.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second for a salary of $119,000. Does anybody have any questions on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
You cut out on my end, so hopefully you can hear me. I'm voting no.
Mr. Parker, all those opposed say no.
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good. Motion passes.
Moving on to 4.2.
I'd like to make a motion to combine 4.2 through 4.5.
Second.
Second.
Any clarification on 4.4, please? 4.4 supplemental appointments.
I'm going to have questions about it, but I'm going to probably approve it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve 4.2 to 4.5. Are there any questions on any of those?
I do have a question. Steve, could you tell me if it looks like every one of the coaches are going to be back. Are they all back as expected, or have any of them opted out?
As of right now, all are back as expected.
All right. To me, that shows obviously where everybody's at for their feelings on the fall sports. If all of our coaches are back, they obviously feel it's very safe. So I appreciate them coming back. I appreciate everything they're doing.
All right. Are there any other questions on 4.2 through 4.5?
Yeah,
If
I
not-
actually do have a question.
Yeah, please.
With the student teacher placements,
Mhm.
how will that work if we end up going to, remote learning? Has that been, Westchester has already said that they're not, are they hybrid? Okay, they're hybrid. But I'm just curious, has anything been considered about that? If we end up having to shut down, are they elementary? If for some reason we end up having to quarantine that building or those teachers or whatever, any ideas on that?
We had student teachers in the spring. They worked as best they could in the system with the teachers. The teachers did a nice job trying to include them as much as they could. And we would assume that would be the same here. There was uncertainty, but I think we made an effort to support our universities in producing a lot of our young teachers. And I think they're just going to do the best they possibly can. And it's really up to the university to say if it's enough or not. But we're going to do what we can. And I know our teachers have done a nice job in including them as much as they can in the virtual world, if it should come to that.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions? If not, the motion to approve 4.2 through 4.5 has already been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those against say nay. So ordered without objection. 5.1.
Moving on to 5.1, the approval of the resolution in conjunction with the approval of the district pandemic safety plan. Before I make that particular motion and recommendation, I would like to, Mr. Davis, if you would, just to weigh in on the why.
Dr. Shirk. By the way, it's and someone pointed this out to us, Dave, the agenda item is misstated. It's not approval of a resolution, it's a motion. And the motion, if you're not familiar with the parlance, might be a little confusing. So I want to clarify it's really not something that's of great import, but we have a whole policy manual, and Dr. Hari and I spoke about potential unintended consequences by adoption of some of the pandemic plans. For instance, meetings might be in violation of our policy. So this is a simple motion to indicate that if one of our emergency pandemic plans or procedures is inconsistent with one of our policies, that the policy is temporarily suspended. It's simple as that.
If I could also add, we worked through the policy committee. They were aware of this, and we had input from the policy committee as well. So this comes not just from administration, but the policy committee was also involved in this.
Okay.
So I'd like to make the recommendation that we approve this motion in conjunction with the approval of the district pandemic safety plan as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the motion for this modification. Does anybody have any questions on this motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say no. All right. So
There we go.
Moving forward to the health and safety plan for athletics and the marching band 5.2. The motion is to approve the health and safety plan for athletics and marching band as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
motion and a second. Are there any questions for anybody on the board?
Yes, some comments and questions.
Yes, please.
Sorry if I missed this in the public question time, but I felt that though we might have discussed some of these points, appropriate to discuss in public. First question was, are there any districts at this point canceling fall sports, or are they just all going forward because the league is okay with it?
It's really about Montgomery County and the superintendents, and we look at that every week, twice a week, and over the weekend. And at this point, no one is canceling anything at this time. We could really, Mr. Parker, we inch forward because we don't know what the future lies as this thing continues to move.
Sure, appreciate that. Thank you. Next question, on page 3, we're acknowledging in the second bullet that there's, quote, an inherent risk of infection. It seems to me, but I'd look to Mr. Davis and other legal research you've done, that do we need to have parents sign off waiving liability?
We've had some discussion about that, and we can certainly do that. Our view is that internally that frankly such a waiver would be of little value. They're minors, and I'm not sure they can waive that. The second issue is, and this is being debated across a huge spectrum of facts and events, which are not limited to this. There's a whole issue of how does one, if you will, justify or support causation. I'm not sure how, the law will evolve in that area over the next year or two. The other issue related to that is I was asked a couple of times, including Pottsgrove, as to whether there could be a waiver and release for people attending school. And I feel strongly you could not require that because you are required to provide a free, appropriate education. I don't think you could have someone sign a waiver for that. So that's where we are at the moment. Again, echoing the words of Dr. Shirk, it's not funny. I don't mean to make it funny. This really evolves minute to minute, day to day. I mean, we're all watching emails all day long and trying to understand different positions. But that's currently our advice.
So it sounds like you're firm about as far as waiving liability for attending school, and that makes sense to me. But it sounds like we're not sure as far as the sports go. So we don't know which way.
I'm
Go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt you, Bill. Yeah, I mean, that's
That's it.
certainly a grayer area, but again, we don't think that it's something you can require, nor would it have weight.
Okay. Second question, page 5, the third bullet down, in regards to using the workout equipment, talks about cleaning the equipment between uses. I mean, we've all been to the gym and we all know how, people kind of do a quick wipe down between machines. I'm wondering if it would be wise, based on the rest of the report, that the youth sanitize their hands between machines, so that it is properly sanitized as far as where they're putting their hands. Any thoughts on that?
Not sure if I can jump in on that.
Please.
Yeah, so in the first phase and second phase, we will not be using the weight room whatsoever. In the event we do get back in there, we will have ample amounts of sanitizing that we will recommend our students or require our students to use prior to going to each weightlifting machine. We'll also set up an opportunity where they'll be able to wipe that machine down, and that machine will have to wait for an extended period of time until the next person can come on and use that machine.
All right. Well, thank you for that. As long as we're going with the require versus recommend or request, I'm comfortable with that. 2 more points. Page 5, this comes up here, but it's going to be a discussion, I think, when we talk about our next plan. In regards to temperature checks, I know it's not the end all and be all. You can be carrying and not have a fever, but it is one of those, simple things to check. I believe we're asking families to check it, but I personally would be more comfortable if we were checking it, before the athletes entered the building or whatever the case is. Doesn't say, I mean, get one of those temporal things and it's seconds to check it. Would there be any reason not to do that, I guess is the question.
No, there's not. I mean, we would have to, we did talk about it, as something that we could possibly do. And we can revisit that. We would have to, again, it goes back to some of our, we have to look at the, availability of all this equipment that we possibly might need throughout the district. And is that feasible for us to do? I think originally out of the gate when we started working on this, it wasn't feasible. And I don't mean to drag Mr. Nestor in late in the game here, but I know we talked about those pieces and getting that type of equipment. We also talked about just looking ahead to even a type of temperature scanner as kids walk in our building when we talk about the reopening piece. So I'm just going to throw that piece in there. So we did talk about that piece as we look to purchasing some of the equipment to reopen. Dave, I don't know if you have anything to add or subtract to that, but I can say we can revisit the logistics part of that, but I don't know if logistically it's feasible. So we can revisit it.
The only comment I have for you, Mr. Parker, is we did look at it very closely. Initially, I had quite a large number of temporal thermometers in my PPE purchase. However, we realized that by the time we checked every student's temperature on the way into a building, it'd be time to send them home again. It's a very time-consuming process. Even if we had a kiosk type scenario, that's only one student hitting it at a time. So what we're looking at from a school building perspective is the possibility of getting some cameras installed that have thermal imaging on them that can identify students who have increased body temperature and then direct those students to the nurse rather than hold up everybody while 40 kids coming off a bus walk through a scanner of some sort. So that's what we're looking at doing from a school-wide perspective. And we'd have to do the same thing for all of our staff and as they came in as well, if we did the temporal thermometers.
I think for one, I would need to give more thought to that. I agree. If one person was checking everybody, by the time everybody was checked, they'd have to go home. I'm not sure that system can't be done where the camp I'm at now, we're all COVID free, but we get checked every day and it takes just minutes. But if you have more, of the thermometer things, then it takes less time. So I'll have to give thought on that, because I think if we're telling our parents, we're doing everything we can to keep your kids safe, we want to make sure, even if it's logistically a challenge or we have to purchase a few more, that we truly are doing everything that we can. Last comment, or two more comments. Page 34, talking about the marching band. I just want to clarify, because in one part it sounds like the band leaders will have to wear masks, but it's not very clear. So if the teachers are within 6 feet of the students, clearly the student's not wearing a mask, he's blowing into an instrument. Is that teacher or that coach or band leader required to wear a mask while speaking to that student within 6 feet?
As of right now, with the new mask mandate, absolutely.
Thank you. I figured that. Last question, before I'm personally ready to vote. Has the union and other staff and other parties had enough time to look at this and ask any questions, comments, add any thoughts?
As far as the other staff, the band director, the trainer, the team doctor, Dr. Brocious, our nursing staff have had the opportunity to look at this pieces. As far as the union piece goes, I mean, obviously the nursing, Steve, was the nursing staff on this group before I say that?
They were not.
Okay, they were not. So our team doctor, who really does our orders, is that correct, Steve?
Correct.
And our team doctor, Wade Brocious, does our standing orders for our district. So he was on that piece, and it's been out for public review now for a week.
Okay. That satisfies me, since it's been in public review for a week. That's all I have. Thank you.
Dr. Shirk or Steve, either one of you, if you could just simply explain to the public as into what our policy is going to be on the PPEs, as in if a student or athlete happens to show up without the mask, are we going to be having someone staff to provide for them? Or are we going to be expecting everybody to be there and get a mask from us? How that's all going to work in regards to the students and athletes when they come to practices or games?
Steve, I'll let you start.
Yeah, so as of currently, we're asking that every single student athlete and coach during the pre-participation period here bring their own mask. We do have a few on reserve. We do not have enough to outfit our entire high school program and or middle school as of right now. Which is where we're currently at regarding masks.
So again, I just really reemphasize what Steve just said. I mean, our responsibility at this point, because we're all under the same order, if you will, to wear a mask, that our expectation is that our student athletes and our students would come prepared with a mask, and in case that they don't, we would have a temporary, piece PPE for them to wear that particular day in time. And then, like anything really else we do in our schools, if there's a need, and there's a need that we know about, we'll find our avenues to work with those particular families. So that's not going to change for us as far as those pieces go, because we do that all the time. It's just that the playing field has just changed.
I just wanted to make a comment that I'm not sure how I feel about having these practices, and I think I'm okay with it. I am leaning more and more towards not reopening the school, even with a hybrid plan, just because of what I'm seeing daily, which we're all seeing. I do feel that if the practices and the workouts are done safely, which I hope everyone who's involved is taking all of this seriously, then I think it can be okay. I think it's needed for the kids to get out and get some exercise and, just get sort of feel like they're back in the swing of things. So I just wanted to put that out there so I'm not, I don't know. I'm just very on the fence about all of this stuff. And I'm just want to let everybody know that because I'm trying to be as transparent as possible here.
Much appreciated. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I mean, we're finding, more and more, we look at the professional sports teams and they're having so much trouble just keeping their players, on in their practices. Now, granted, they're getting tested, every other day, something like that. I mean, we don't have the access to, but just seeing that alone just concerns me, I just want everyone to stay safe. I want everyone to stay healthy. And I know that's it's just a hope of mine that we can just keep everybody in our district, all of our students, staff, teachers, everybody involved as healthy as possible right now. I'm done.
Yeah. Many times the things that we vote on are fairly routine. The motion that we had about, giving some leeway in terms of making adjustments to the policies when this conflicts with that, they're not really a major deal. Voting for the supplemental positions are not really a big deal, but then there's other votes that come down to a matter of conscience, things that you believe in, things that you disagree with, and things like that. There are plenty of votes that are votes of conscience, and all of us, we're 9 individual people that we have our thoughts, our beliefs, and everything else. That's why you have 9 members. So you have 9 different points of view, and we're supposed to be representative of the community. We're not supposed to be 9 rubber stamps. We're supposed to be 9 people that bring our respective points of view. We're supposed to hash them out, and hopefully we do represent the community well and represent all of the folks and all of the viewpoints. So you're not going to see any sort of coercion. You're not going to see any sort of fighting about that sort of thing. We respect everybody's opinions. We respect everybody's right to have their different things, their different viewpoints, and we want everybody to talk about them, hash them out, and we take a vote, and when the vote's over, the vote's over. So thank you, Ashley, for expressing your opinion, and well done you. So moving on to the next thing. Is there anybody else that has something they'd like to say or a point they'd like to bring out?
Bob, I'll just go real quick. I just want to make it very, very important that we have the safety of the students and staff. That's the most important thing that is our priorities, to make sure everybody's safe and well. As it comes for the sports, I wouldn't be so surprised if we get an email that the PIAA is closing us. There's just so many uncertainties, but just stay positive. That's all you can do. Stay positive. Take one step at a time. Take a breath before you say anything. And we're all in this together. That's all.
And yeah, and it's going to come down to the individual student and the parents as well, making their individual choices as well, because all of these sports are voluntary. None of these sports are
That's right.
mandatory. So
and
at the end of the day, we're offering the opportunity for students to participate in any of these things, as long as we're allowed to offer participation. And if students choose not to, that's fine too. So on we go. So having said that, are there anybody else on the board who would care to comment or not? And with that, all those in favor of approving the plan, this plan as it stands, and modifying it as required, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, very good. Plan passes. Thank you very much. So new business, we have a couple of items that I know of anyway. Anybody care to start?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Lingren. I just want to let the our community know that obviously this was the first really task that we needed to complete with the health and safety plan for athletics and marching band. As we all know, as we all review the literature and the research and the television, this could change within the next couple of days and next weeks. So obviously we put ourselves in a position to move forward as we see fit and need to. Understand the next phase is coming. When we talk about the phased in school reopening, we are in the process of vetting that out, continually vetting that out from our local healthcare groups and expertise, if you will. And obviously, as I mentioned before, that we have put that in our union's hands to review. And I'll be talking to Mr. Shantz specifically regarding their feedback in the next couple of days. So that's really our step two. Snuggled in there, if you will, you'll be the community receiving a letter from me regarding our educational thoughts as we move forward. Obviously, as we know it, the full green, going back full green, that would be the best case scenario for everybody. Obviously, that seems very unlikely at this time, but also know that we're looking at options for a hybrid program that features in-person, brick and mortar instruction, coupled with online instruction. And then finally, obviously the Pottsgrove Area School District Virtual Academy for those parents who would like to keep their parents home in that virtual world. So I'll have some information coming to you at the end of the week, and probably the week after that, I'll be looking for some feedback from you regarding where you see you as a parent and your son or daughter fitting in with that particular piece. So that'll also be, we'll continue to move forward along the way with the educational components. Just so you know, administratively, our leadership team will be meeting tomorrow with these to talk about these pieces, and they will work specifically with our faculty that they work with and our building administration. And this piece will now really trickle down, if you will, to building specific, teacher specific plans as we look at all of our options as far as getting our students back in a learning environment. So that'll take place, pretty much simultaneously with the phased-in health plan template, and we'll continue to monitor those pieces. And as we move forward, talking with our parents and as well as our staff on what they feel comfortable doing as we continue to look for direction from the Pennsylvania Department of Health and PDE, and of course, ultimately the governor's office as well. Thank you, Mr. Lingren.
Sure. All right. I think we've got a bit of news, a bit of sorrowful news for me, and maybe a little bit of good news for him. But I do believe our new member, Mr. Scott Hutt, has something he'd like to share with us.
Yes, it is with great regret that I am resigning my position as school board director of Pottsgrove School District effective immediately. I've accepted a new position and will devote all of my time and energy to my career. It's been a pleasure being part of this district's board. I'm extremely proud at all we have accomplished during my tenure and have no doubt the board and administration will continue to have successes in the future. We're dealing with a very difficult and undesirable circumstances, coming up with reopening plans that emphasize the health and safety of our entire community. I have no doubt this group of professionals will find the best outcome together. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to serve with you and serve the community.
Thank you, Scott.
Apparently,
Patty, I would just like to thank you for your time and your dedication to the Pottsgrove School District and wish you nothing but the best in your new endeavors. I know you're not going that far, so we'll run into you, but I wish you well.
Thank you.
Run, Scott, run.
Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you for the past almost 3 years. I wish you all the best. Your game, fantastic. Our loss, absolutely. So go knock them dead.
Thank you.
Scott, I also want to offer you thanks and my appreciation for always your support and a cordial relationship. For the board's benefit, you know, the lawyer has to do his thing now, which I just remind the board that you have 30 days to make an appointment, so you can consider a schedule and how you want to do that. Good luck to you, Scott.
Thank you, Mark.
Good luck, Scott. I know you're on to bigger and better, so I'm sure we'll see you around now.
Yes, you will. I appreciate everything.
Good luck, Scott. It was a lot of fun working with you, and wish you the best of success in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Nippert. Same to you.
Scott, as I said privately, hate to see you go. Oh, sorry, Jim.
That's
I
okay.
hate to see you go, but good luck with your new endeavor.
Thank you, Bill.
And yeah, it's been fun working with you, Scott, but understand completely. So enjoy yourself. Go have fun.
Thank you.
Congrats, Scott. It's been a pleasure to work with you on the board. Thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you, Tina. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, Scott, get that pool open in West Pottsgrove, will you?
I'll let them know.
Scott, from my seat and our district administration, we want to thank you for your openness, your candor through the last the times that you've been with us, and that has always really helped us grow and really take a viewpoint that allowed us to look at all situations. That's one thing we respect not only about you but all of our board, that you bring a set of eyes and experiences to the table, and we appreciate that. That'll be missed, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Shirk. It's been a real pleasure working with you these last couple of years.
all right.
I did have a couple other things. I hate to follow that, but is this a good time, Mr. Lindgren?
Please do.
All right. If I missed it earlier, I apologize. Have we given parents specific dates as far as when we're going to have definitive answers as far as what school's going to look like with the hybrid model? I'm just concerned about parents needing to figure out, for daycare and that kind of thing.
That's the next thing coming up.
Oh, all right. Then let me pop out my next question then. Where are we at with, so when we're talking about hybrid model, kids are going to school a couple of days a week, the other couple of days they're doing virtual school from home. Where are we at with preparing a top-notch A++ virtual program for our students and families?
We've been working on that all summer. We're going to process of really picking up the pace, if you will, on those pieces with professional development, with the purchase of Schoology and our K-5 division. So, that is something that Dr. Ramage, Mr. Boris, Tony Bickert, will be part of that piece, are part of that piece, and continue to work on a daily basis. We've already had curriculum meetings regarding the virtual world. And Daniel, if you want to weigh in, or Dave, feel free. But I think we're well on our way to putting ourselves in a real good position to be robust, not only in person but in the virtual world.
Let me add a question to that, perhaps. Where are we specifically with the professional development plan? So the teachers are ready to go from day one, giving a solid education. We lost a lot last year, no fault of ours, obviously. Teachers did a great job. But where are we? Will we be ready? Will the teachers be ready with the professional development to hit the road running in day one?
We will, and I just mentioned a couple pieces that we're currently working on. We will work on, and I was going to ask. I know Daniel and Dave Ramage, you've been working with the teachers over the summer, building administration. Anything you'd like to add at this time?
Sure. I recently had a meeting with over, I think it was 65 or 70 of our teaching staff. And the reason for that meeting was really to talk about getting some of our own experts within our district, who are experts in any given particular area, to plan and facilitate professional learning for their colleagues. That's in addition to some external folks that we would be having, specifically some of the curriculum resources that we have, the online tools that are associated with those curriculum resources, updating teachers with some of the changes that are now available, or refamiliarizing teachers with those particular pieces. So we expect to have a series. Dr. Shirk, Dr. Harney, Dr. Ramage, and I, as well as the building principals, are thinking about what that could look like in terms of how do we have that occur over the summer, making sure that teachers, perhaps we use the flex day model that we've had in the past, meaning that they would be able to put in some time over the summer in exchange for a professional development day that's in our calendar for next school year. And if you recall, we've done that for the past, I think, 3, perhaps 4 years. It's really been on the other end, though, because of snow days, and we had to make up some time with the teacher's contract. So in addition, when we were also surveying the community, we surveyed our teachers in terms of what are some of the largest professional development needs that they have. So we have data. Not surprisingly, at the top of that list was social and emotional, how to support students' social and emotional learning. Dr. Presido and I talked about that actually as recently as today. So we have plans to engage that. So our goal is really to make sure that anything that teachers had already indicated in that survey in terms of what they would need to be successful in terms of professional development, they would have opportunities to attend throughout the summer.
I can just toss in too that obviously there's in-service days traditionally that kick in before the beginning of a school year, and these items, of course, become a natural focus for that kind of training, which was really a missing piece when we were just kind of suddenly sent out in March. We've had a chance to really piggyback a lot of what it means to be thinking about online in the context of all the other curriculum work that Mr. Boris just mentioned, particularly K-5, where Schoology is a brand new piece for them. It's all being, it's basically most of this is happening right now because our whole student information system has to roll over the students into the coming year, and then classes are rostered inside the system. So routinely, this is the time of year where all that kind of back-end information system with Mr. Bickert and his team, it's a big undertaking. Once that is actually in place, then teachers will be able to go and see who their class rosters are once that's determined, all set up inside an online or same environment that they would use face-to-face if we would be. So we've been able to pepper some training pieces. I created a sandbox version, if you would, of a Schoology course so that I've been Zooming or connecting with elementary teachers to say, this is what an assignment might look like. Here's something that might work for a second grader. that's unique or more visual for someone who doesn't have strong reading skills like a kindergartner. There's tutorials. So it's been embedded throughout, but of course, more formally, we'll dig into those pieces as the professional development continues through the summer, and then what would normally be scheduled inside a kind of an August kickoff for training and preparation as well.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Parker?
Yes, thank you for that.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted there, Mr. Parker?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Getting back a little bit to what Mr. Parker was alluding to and some of the discussions, I just wanted to revisit that. Dr. Shirk, you and I have talked a bit, and we've talked with the board about the schedule of upcoming events. I wanted to reiterate that as we've been talking. As you mentioned, the teachers union right now does have the entire health and safety plan. Right now, we've gotten this plan approved, this for the band, for the athletics. So this plan is out. We will continue to upgrade it. We'll continue to get the additional comments. We'll continue to keep upgrading it, adding details. We've got these additional questions that we've received tonight. We'll start to incorporate some of those answers and upgrades and all of that into that plan, make modifications as required, and start distributing those answers and responses and upgrade as we need to, as we get additional guidance, as we get information from the county health and anything else that comes out of the state. We're going to have the teachers union be looking at the overall plan that we're talking about, this hybrid plan that we've proposed. The teachers union is going to look at that for the next week or so. Hopefully Wednesday of next week, we'll get the entire plan out to the public to look at. At that point, we're going to have the public look at it. At that point, the union can continue to look at the plan. We'll continue to make plans and revisions and markups and comments on the plan for another week. And our plan is to have a public meeting on Thursday, the 30th of July, where we can hopefully approve that plan. And again, comments and everything on that, and answers to the questions that people have, and incorporate so that we can then approve that plan on the 30th at a public meeting. Don't know where we're going to have it. If we have attendance like we're having tonight, maybe the plan will be to have it in the high school auditorium or the high school gymnasium, depending on how many people we're expecting. I don't know. Obviously, as I said, I missed the call on how many we're going to have tonight. Probably have more people in attendance then, but with social distancing and all, probably going to need to have it in the gym or the auditorium at the high school. Just spitballing here, but I think that's probably very likely. But it will be in person, so we won't have the limitations on the time. In addition, as you mentioned, we're going to be working on the education. We've already got the educational pieces that you mentioned. We're going to continue, you're continuing, Dr. Shirk, to work on the distance learning piece and some other pieces as well. You know, the special education piece continues, and there's a couple of other pieces I think you're working on as well. Have I missed anything? Was there anything else you wanted to highlight?
No, I just think understand that we are trying to be really thoughtful as we move forward to not only to get information out, but also not give too much information out, and allow our families and our communities to make real-time decisions so that they can best suit their families. And please be reminded that this is ever changing. We're spending a lot of time and effort, on a virtual community. We're also spending time and effort on a hybrid community, and we don't know if our efforts are going to be for naught, or not. Pardon the double negative there, but I just want you to know that the group of administrators and the district office administrators and our principals are really doing a great job in putting us in a position to be successful. So we'll continue to get the information out, and we'll continue to keep you in the forefront over the next 3-4 weeks. And we will be asking our community to make a commitment to a virtual world or a hybrid / in-person world that has a little bit of both. So because we're going to really need to work on, our building administrators are going to have to work on how that looks, how that's staffed, the social distancing pieces. There's all those pieces that will go into effect that we'll talk about tomorrow, and with our building administrators and the specific plans. So a lot of things will be happening, and we'll keep everybody abreast of what's going on. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any new business?
Yeah, let me add a quick comment. Somebody had a good point on the Q&A. As far as the next meeting, how would we do if there's more than 250 people? We wouldn't be allowed to meet. So maybe we do we have a max amount in the gym or wherever we meet, but then have a virtual thing in addition. Just throwing that out there as a thought.
Yeah, I did have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Bicker today about those pieces, and we will be able to work on both platforms, the in-person platform as well as the Zoom platform, for those who could be compromised or don't want to be out, in large groups, or we can't keep our physical distance. So we will. I'm going to be working with him to set up that where you have an option and you'll sign up for the in-person, and also sign up for the Zoom. So we're going to be working on that as well, because that could affect many people. So we sort of anticipated that going to this next phase.
Good. I just have something real quick. Bob, since sadly we're saying goodbye to Scott, what do we need to do now to get the ball rolling, since we only have 30 days?
Well, I think that two things. It's my recollection that you actually, as a board, adopted a policy to follow for appointments some time ago. And the second thing is that that has a timeline. So I'd suggest that the board authorize tonight any advertisements for that position, get it up on the website. I don't remember off the top of my head. There might be a requirement you advertise in the newspaper. You don't have to legally. So I would suggest you authorize the administration to start the process tonight, because again, you have 30 days. You're very busy right now, and I think that policy requires interviews. So you're going to have a busy month, so you probably ought to get started.
Does this require a formal motion, or is this something we can just basically?
Unless anybody objects, that the administration start the process by following the board adopted policy. I don't know what it is. It's unique to your board. There was a history that we don't need to revisit about appointments, so there was a policy put in place. So you can vote on it, or I'm comfortable, as long as the board gives us, meaning not so much me, Bill and his staff, the go ahead to start the process. And he's going to need to get dates from you for boards and start to clear calendars. And again, it's a tough time of the year. So again, unless anybody objects, I would suggest that the administration get the process started, whatever that process is.
Consider yourself so notified, Dr. Shirk.
So notified.
Thank you. All right. Very good. Anybody else have any other new business? Okay, I have something I'd like to share. Well, we're all aware of it, and I'd just like to go over a little bit with you. We all, as members of the board, received a correspondence from the president of the union today, from John Shantz, and it was a lengthy email stating his position and position of the union. And he asked to address the board this evening and wanted to talk about the subject of his email. And that immediately kind of put me on the horns of a dilemma, because as we've stated, as we talked about at the beginning of this meeting, as we talked about in the middle of this meeting, during the process of this whole thing, since March, in the middle of March, we've had these Zoom meetings, we haven't had anybody talking on live mic at all during these meetings. And I've not been changing the policy for anybody for any reason. I love working with the union. I always want to work with the union. I want to work with everybody in the district. I am not somebody who picks and chooses and changes policies here and there and in between. I don't like to make exceptions on the fly. I don't do it because it never ends well. It's not how I do business. And it always leads to tears, especially since this is the last meeting I expect ever to do this way. It's going to be in person from here on out. That being said, there has to be a way to get to the result that we want. What do we do? What are we trying to do? We're trying to get the communication between the union and the board out to the public. What are we going to do? So what I agreed with Mr. Shantz was that we would put his letter that he sent to the board into the minutes tonight as part of the official record. And what we can further do to make it even more accessible is that I will ask Ms. Bickert, if you could take a copy of those minutes and just post them in the public comments section, just like you do with any other attachment. If you would just put those in the public comments section 7.1 to make them easier for people to find right in board docs. That would be another way that we could do it. So it'd be in the official record. It would also be in board docs so people can find it there. That way there's no reason anybody can't find it. Because my goal is not to silence anybody. My goal is not to not let anybody be heard. It was just because I wasn't going to make an exception. And the thing was just too long to be read out even by me in 3 minutes, which is what our policy is for verbal public comment under the best of things. I did tell Mr. Shantz that if he wanted to make any comments this evening that he could type them in just like anybody else did. He did type some comments in here, and when we get to public comment, I can read those or he can type new ones now for us to look at. And it was a situation where just trying to make the best of it. We on the board consider all of our staff, the administration, our Teamsters, our staff, everybody. We consider everybody in here part of our team. And I don't like the idea of anybody feeling that they've been left out, set aside, not considered, whatever. I don't like hearing that. I want everybody to, I'm not going to give a whole big, long, touchy-feely speech. That's not what I do. It's not where I'm coming from. What I'm trying to tell you is that when there's a situation we can solve by talking, that's what I'm going to do. All right. So we're going to put the letter into the record. I've already talked with Mr. Shantz. We're going to sort this thing out, and we're going to get back on track. And we're going to fix this. It's a simple issue that we can solve. We're going to move on here. So that's what I have to say about it. And I'm going to give an opportunity to type in anything, and I'm just going to take it from there and hope that we move on. So there's a question I just got here. This is not public comment, but I'm just going to address this. Does the board president not have the right to address the public at any public board meeting? The board, I'm not sure what that question means. I am the board president.
Bob, if I could just chime in something real quick.
Please.
Yeah. You know, I just feel that it's very, very important for everybody to collaborate, and we're all a team. And
Yes.
the union and our staff are as most important as any of us. And no matter what level we're at, we all have to come together for the betterness of our students, our kids. So I actually would like to hear a little bit more just what's going on with the board. And it doesn't have to be at a hostile time, but a good time. Just like we bring things to the board, the administration brings things to us. I would also like to start including some things that are going on in a positive way with the union. So we're all working collaboratively and just making it a better transparency for all of us.
Agreed.
That's really like my goal. And it's all through good times, because everybody knows in Pottsgrove, we're a small community that's together. So we'll get through this, but I just like to start hearing a little bit more of the positivity on what they're doing in their own little world, what they bring to the table for our community.
Thank you, Patty. I agree with you as well.
Thank you.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's good for the betterment of all of us.
And I'd like to add, I was a little disappointed reading the letter, reading some of the comments from the union representative. I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I was under the impression that the union, and I say the union because they're the largest group of teachers together, right? Who we really need to be making sure we're hearing from, because they're on the front lines. I was under the impression that the administration's been working alongside them, getting their input, everything sounded kosher, and now I'm hearing not. So that's a disappointment, and I hope there's some corrections made. So if there is some dissatisfaction that can't be resolved, that we hear about it directly and hear both sides and are able to clear things up.
I'd have to say I'm upset that that any of this even happened. I don't have a lot of words to say other than we have to make this right. Period. We need everyone on board. This is obviously not anything anybody ever thought they'd be facing in their lifetime. You know, we're all taking it day by day, and we need to have as much collaboration and cooperation as possible to make this work as well as possible for everybody involved.
Yeah, this is not a time for us to divide amongst ourselves and start squabbling and fighting, because this is the time where we have to come together and work together very much as a team. It's, you know, like I said earlier about Zoom, it's, you know, I've grown to hate Zoom, and I've grown to hate the disorganization that it seems to create. And I've grown to understand this school district functions best when it functions as a team. And we need to all do that. And it's very hard to do it when we can't see each other, and I can't look across the room and see what Jim's thinking and talk to Patty offline and do that kind of interpersonal work, which is what education is all about. This memo really disturbed me, because like Mr. Parker, I thought everybody was on board and was kind of working along. What we did today may be an ultimate exercise in futility because colleges are canceling their athletic programs. And what's down the road? Very likely, what we plan is going to be irrelevant because we have a better chance of going back to red than we have of becoming pure green and a wonderful Dr. Panglossian effervescent field of happiness. So we need the union at this time, and we need their people on our side. Because quite frankly, let's be honest, there are people out there who want public schools to go bust. And they're licking their chops to have us fight amongst ourselves. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's my opinion. I think we need to work.
Well, continuing to make Mr. Davis unhappy, I'm just gonna continue down that path. Mr. Sean says, I'm so unhappy with the way the union was represented here tonight. You made it sound like you've been working with us. That is not true. I was told tonight that I could have until Friday to ask my union members to respond to a 56-page document that you've had for much longer. That's not right. I had to fight to get until next Wednesday. All right. You made it sound like you've been working with us. So the terms are ambiguous here. You made it sound like you've been working with us. Let's just assuming that's talking about me and the board working with us. In the larger context, yes, I've been working with you in the union and everything else for, I don't know, almost 28 years now, on and off while I've been on the board. And we've been working, and most recently, no, I haven't been working with you on this committee. There was no board membership on the team, on the committee that wrote this plan. We delegated it to the superintendent to do. None of us on the board worked on this plan. So no, we were not working with you personally, Mr. Shallons, or you, the union, particularly on the plan. There were teachers on the committee. There were 10 teachers on the committee. None of them were in the union leadership. That's true, but there were 10 union teachers, union members on the committee. That's a distinction. There should have been, it would have been ideal if there had been union leadership on the committee. And that's something that perhaps can be remedied very soon. And I hope it will be. I was told tonight that I could have until Friday to ask my union members to respond to a 56-page document that you've had for much longer. Yes, I got the 56-page document a while ago. I looked at it, and I haven't looked at it since because it met my minimal requirements, which was it was a template. It needs help. It needs work. It needs to be out to the public to review. I've done with it. I haven't looked at it in great detail because it met the minimum requirements, and that is that it's been looked at by these many other things, and it needs review, it needs revision, it needs to be out and vetted by the public. So that's right. I think 3 pages, 3 days is enough for a team of 240 education professionals to look at a document that's 56 pages. I really do. We often ask college students to look at many, many more than 56-page documents in 3 days. So I didn't personally think that was an unreasonable request. I didn't think that was an unreasonable request, and I still don't. But I negotiated. I thought it was a negotiation. You wanted a full week. I said, that's fine. So we did agree till next Wednesday. I'm sorry that you think that that was an unfair representation of our discussion, that we gave it till next Wednesday. I thought that we had a fair and productive discussion. I thought that it was fruitful, and I thought that you treated me with respect. I thought that I treated you with respect, and I thought that we had a fruitful and productive discussion. I thought that we came away with what we both wanted, which was that I recognized your position as president of the union, and that you deserved and needed respect in that position, and that you were going to get that respect that you deserved. And if I've misread that position and I didn't treat you accordingly, then I apologize, and I'll need to figure out what to do to fix that. So there we are. So I still, as I agreed that I would do, when we get to public comment, you can still, give me a new comment when we get there, of what you would like to say. As I mentioned, I'm still hoping that Ms. Bickert will put your entire document in the public comment section. Just cut and paste the email into public comment for the record, as well as to transcribe it and put it in the document when we're done. So
It's in the chat right now.
But I think it's just for us.
No. I asked Lori to change that.
Oh, she fixed it, did she?
Mm-hmm. She did.
All right, very good. Thank you. I'm again proving my ignorance about Zoom. So that's all I seem to be very good at tonight.
I'd just like to say that I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're going to do better moving forward. There's been some bumbles and stumbles and maybe some miscommunications, but that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to make sure that we're 100% transparent and, taking everybody's opinions, professional opinions, concerns, everything into consideration. This is not an easy job for anybody involved. Everyone's doing their best here, but I think we know we can do better.
I can't improve on that, so I'm not even going to try. So there's that. So that's the end of new business for now. So we'll go back to public comment. Back to public comment. So we're just going to go, you know what, Ashley, you're kind of screwed here because you did such a good job with organizing the comments there when you took over. I'm just going to put you back in charge of that and just go through the public comments that have to do with the health and safety plan, not including the athletics and marching band.
Okay, so you want me to scroll through and find the comments? All righty.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling.
Never volunteer, Ashley. Never volunteer.
Yeah, sometimes I get myself in trouble for that. There was one, why is the focus on band and sports? Shouldn't the district's first priority be the student's education? That was Diana Vargo at 7:37 p.m. I think we did sort of answer that already, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question about kindergarten. My daughter's planning to start kindergarten. Has there been discussions on that? I guess on what orientation? That's by Brian Fulmer at 7:39 p.m.
More to follow.
Okay. At 7:40, Kelly Ricard. I would like to ask what kind of air sanitation or mitigation would be in the classrooms? Do we know that yet?
I don't know if Mr. Carwell can comment on that. I know we'll have that. We have that definitely prepared for the next piece. But if Mr. Carwell could comment on that, feel free, Jeff.
Yes, we're going to follow the ASTRA standards, bringing in more fresh air through our HVAC system, and change the caliber of the filters that we're using and change them more often. That's the regulations that are being presented to facilities throughout to follow the new standards of, like I said, providing fresh air and a different level of filtration.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. We did answer this. When will the board meeting take place to discuss the general health and safety and reopening plan? And we did say, I believe, the 30th is tentative for now, correct? Yes, okay, I'm seeing head nods. All right, so that would be the 30th of July, where that's what we're pushing towards. 7:44, Rick Rabinowitz. I think we did sort of answer this question eventually. I get that no one thought virtual meetings would last this long, but one would think that given the gravity of the decisions related to the special meetings in July, there would be a different perspective on hearing from the public rather than having to type questions in Q&A format. Public questions are not public comment, and the optics of this method of conducting meetings when it is entirely possible to turn on the mic for people who wish to speak is not going to go over well with a lot of people, myself included. Bob, I do think you addressed that, and we will, I think also maybe doing a town hall or something will help with that also. Question mark?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What type of personal protective equipment will teachers and children be required to wear? Both face shield and mask, or just one or the other?
At this point, it would just be the mask. There might be some situations where teachers would wear a shield, especially when they have to see somebody's teacher's face. So that would, that's still yet to be determined on a case-by-case basis. But both, it could be definitely the mask at this point in time, and possibly a shield depending on the educational delivery.
Okay, Jessica Pierce at 7:44. Based on planning to have the hybrid opening for schools, how would a specialist be able to be safe when they teach 800 students? Seems a huge risk to the specialist staff and then in turn everyone else's health and safety with the level of exposure that would cause.
Well, a hybrid piece would be half the students at a time. So we're still gonna meet, as I mentioned earlier in the evening. We're gonna meet administratively tomorrow to discuss these pieces, and we'll then have an opportunity to talk about some building specific pieces with our administrators moving forward. But at this point, it's probably all I want to comment on, other than we're going to try to create as safe as environment as possible.
Okay, Julie Schumacher, 747. How will they be publicized for those who are unable to attend the meeting? I guess questions maybe is how will questions be publicized, or maybe the plan? I'm not quite sure what she's asking, what she had asked then. So, I mean, everything's going to be on the website, correct? All right. Leah Quigley at 748. Does pregnancy fall under the category of comorbidities? Is there a list of conditions that fall under that? I know that there is a list. I did see that somewhere. That is in the plan, correct? Or you're directed to the site that has the comorbidities, something like that.
Yeah, I can't answer that at this time, but we'll get that piece. We'll have that piece, and that could be a question. Any questions like that with our staff, we would funnel that through HR and get the exact answer that the particular employee would need.
Okay. Catherine Jorgensen at 748. Should the classroom result back to a cyber school format, what provision is made for the Montco students who require on-hand education, such as, she's talking about like Western Center, electrical, carpentry, stuff like that?
If we're all forced back to the cyber piece, I know after that, I don't have that specific detail tonight, but I know in working with Mr. Maritzen that because of the size of the labs and the size of the classrooms, that the social distancing piece or physical distancing piece is not an issue down to Western Center. So we're hoping that we can get in and get our kids down there, because we feel space-wise that's probably our best building as far as accommodating kids with social distancing during the school day. So, but I don't specifically have the answer for the cyber piece for the Westerns, if it means Western Center.
All right, Caitlin. I'm not even going to attempt that last name. I have no idea. At 749, if a teacher tests positive for COVID, are they required to quarantine for 14 days? Is their sick leave covered and or paid? I did see something when going through everything earlier today, that they are paid, what, up to 80 hours, I believe?
They're going to have the choice of the 80 hours as provided through the FFCRA, or they can use their own sick time. The FFCRA time, unfortunately, Peasers did a flip-flop and will not count that towards Peasers time. So if they want that time counted towards Peasers, they'll be permitted to use their sick time.
Okay. Same person asking at 752, will we get notified when someone tests positive, how and when, or if because of HIPAA, are parents and teachers going to get a mysterious may have been in contact email?
We will follow Montgomery County Health Department recommendations there, and not put the district in any jeopardy regarding the HIPAA laws. And we will do everything that we can in our legal power to make sure everybody knows if they've come in contact with somebody in a particular area or room. And that also goes back to page 21, I think, of the current plan about that'll be the same in the district plan.
Okay. Julie Schermacher, again at 7:57, not quite sure. She's saying, can you publish the public's comments prior to the meeting so everyone is aware of what is being asked, consider, and decided moving forward? Maybe she's asking that the public comment be somehow presented beforehand so that people can type in their questions and everyone else can see them too. And I'm guessing that was the what she was trying to ask there. And I don't know if we can do that via Zoom, but our next meeting's supposed to be in person, so maybe that won't be an issue, hopefully.
That goes back to the other question with the lady, where the lady asked about, she said she submitted her questions and she didn't get an answer back, and she resubmitted them tonight trying to get an answer. So if, there's folks that submitted their questions and never got an answer, maybe that's what we need to address, right?
Right.
Getting those answers out there.
So this one, Sandy Biddle, I believe, Bob, you answered the first part of her question. And that was concerning band and athletics. She said, I'd like to remind you that many of our students and staff, particularly our special education students, have compromised immune systems. I also have many of the dangerous conditions that you have listed. My concern is that it is too soon for all students and staff to be entering the buildings, especially those with higher health risks. Will there be the option, regardless of the school reopening, for there to still be online learning? Please don't rush into opening our schools. It is not worth endangering anyone's long-term health or, God forbid, lose one person. It's far more prudent to stay quarantined longer than to reopen one day too soon. So the question there was, will there still be an option, regardless of the school reopening, for there to be online learning, which we do know that, yes, there will be.
That's right.
Yes. Let's see. Sue Killen at 828 said, is there a concern that Safe to Say will be used to report violations of COVID guidelines? Should it be used for this reason?
Dr. Harney, I can let you weigh in specifically, but I think any information that we could get regarding the safety and welfare of a student would be something we'd want to hear about.
Absolutely. Yeah, without question.
Another one, would you consider a town hall rather than a board meeting in order to engage with the community? We did discuss that, or just had brief. Let's see. Here's someone at 842, Sarah Becker Freilish. She just is asking that we try to get as much communication out there about these meetings, because she said she wasn't even aware of them. So I don't know how much. I'm sure we're doing everything we can to notify the public. There we go. Diana Vargo is basically asking a date when we can expect the final plan, because parents, guardians, and caretakers need to know how to plan their schedule, which is completely understandable. But I think we've already answered that. Diana Varga also at 9:40 said having anything other than in-school education for students with learning disabilities and IEPs doesn't seem feasible. In the spring, it was quite difficult for some students to learn anything. So that's not a question, it's just a comment, but it's definitely, it's a very good point. Let's see. Okay, and the same woman at 9:54 said just a suggestion, can you do a combined Zoom/in-person meeting to allow for those who don't find it appropriate to gather in the school building?
Yes.
So basically, I guess live stream or Zoom it at the same time.
Yes.
So not a bad idea. Wait. Does the board president not have the right to address the public at any public board meeting?
Union president. The question was union president.
Oh,
First
union.
one.
Oh, okay. Right. I think we already addressed that. Anthony Pincos at 10:23 said, full transparency requested. What is the administration leaning towards? Full reopening, hybrid, or virtual learning?
I think we're going to present two options at this point based on what we know and conversations regarding safety and social distancing and adhering to all those pieces. At this point, we're leaning toward a hybrid model, blended learning and instruction, and a virtual model. Things we were hoping, I think when the summer started, that if things continue to progress, that we could get ourselves back in 100 green and have normal days. But I think the reality has set in over the last week or so that we're going to have to find alternative ways to get it done. I can also say that we've talked about this this blended learning plan, this hybrid plan, really since May. So we've talked about it. We've designed some pieces to that, and we shared that out with our administrative staff at a draft form today. We will discuss it more tomorrow, and we will have those conversations with the building principals and what that will look like for them, and give them, obviously, we wanted to give them as much time as possible. We sort of wanted to wait this thing out as much as we could, and now it's time to look at those models, the virtual model, and then of course a hybrid model. And we'll get that all out to you as soon as we can, once it's vetted through our administration, building administration, and the building leadership.
Okay, Daryl Tillman at 10:26 asked, what did the district learn from last year's virtual learning? How is that going to be improved for this year's virtual learning?
Oh, we learned a lot of things, and I'll kick it off, and if anybody wants to follow, feel free. But I think one of the things that we learned was that we had to make connections in the virtual world, as hard as that may seem, and we had to be able to have our teachers make connections, with our teachers, the visual connection, as well as not just posting assignments and posting to do things, etc. So one of the things that we look for moving forward is to have a more interactive, virtual world with our students, more accountability, not only for more accountability and expertise with our teachers. Obviously, they understand that is an area. Some of our teachers understand that's an area where they have to practice over this summer, but also holding our students accountable for the work that needs to be done in the course of a week or a month. Obviously, the grading pieces, the assessment pieces, these are all things that we're working on this summer and looking to improve, which we feel we're in a position to do that with a new learning management platform at the K-5 level. We didn't have that piece last year. We're going to have that piece, and those teachers really requested that. So the board supported that request. We're also looking at upgrading the technology at the 3-5 building. We will have more information out to our board this week. I believe it's tomorrow, on how that will work for us, because we're going to need some support there as well. And then filter that our technology that we currently have from 3-5 down to K1 and 2, so it positions ourselves, to be, we'll be in a better spot right out of the gate with devices, a learning management platform, and then a better understanding of what a virtual curriculum looks like, since we just flew out of the gate with it. Now we've had a chance to reflect.
Okay, thank you. Stacy Messing at 10:25 said, again, my 2 cents. I'm very happy that the mics were not on for 200 people to talk. Asking questions this way has worked well over the past few months, and I felt it was very acceptable tonight. Jennifer Endy at 10:26. How would before and after care providers be allowed into the elementary schools?
That's something we're going to continue to work on, because that's going to depend on how we're back in with a part-time model or a virtual model. So we're still working on that piece. We are obviously going to continue to work with our relationships with the YMCA, and I don't see that piece changing. It'll just depend on what kind of educational model that we have going on as we move forward. Good question, Jennifer. Thank you.
Okay, from Kristen at 10:26. I'm very involved in our school community. Would very much like to hear from teachers and their views and input on the proposed plans. The board states they want collaboration, but between the forum, lack of live comments and discussion, and lack of involvement of teachers, it is difficult to see. I would like to see the level of professionalism rise in running these discussions. Heard the word I too many times. Collaboration is we. Defensiveness is not productive. We need to work together as a community, administration, board, teachers, parents, and students. I hope future meetings truly take this into consideration so they can be more productive. So not a question there, but a comment, a good one.
Thank you for that constructive criticism. We take your point, and it is on point. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate that. We've already talked about the fact that this is not our preferred forum. We're looking forward to getting back to being in person. We'd state again that there were, in fact, 7 teachers on the committee, along with 2 nurses and a psychologist who were on the committee, and there is now 2 weeks of time when we do beg for teachers and parents and everybody to look at this plan, tear it apart, ask all the questions that they want to improve this plan. So the fact that very few people have looked at the plan up to this point doesn't mean that we don't want you to look at it now. We do want you to look at it now. We do want you to help with the plan now. Somebody had to start it. Somebody had to take the template and put flesh on the bones. But now that that's been done, it needs to be improved. It needs to be brought, even further down the road. It needs to be tweaked. It needs to be developed further and improved. And that's what we're asking for your help. Please do help us with this. Please do help us. So, point taken, and we do look forward to your help and your assistance in moving this down the road.
All right. Jean Ann Lockey at 10:26. Can you please share the results of the teacher survey in regard to their comfort level in returning to the classrooms? You're muted, Dr. Shirk.
I muted myself instead. I unmuted myself. The teacher survey basically, early on, this goes back to June when we left, 75% were okay with coming back face-to-face. About 25% were not. Now, I don't know if that changes. If that'll change, but we'll look at that in the next couple weeks as we move forward.
Okay. Gina and Lockie again at 10:36. Have there been discussions with the bus drivers? They are on the front lines too.
There has been Dave Nestor, if you would weigh in on some of the things in the conversations that you've had with CMD regarding this, please.
Yes, we've had extensive conversation with CMD Transportation. We really don't have access to the drivers during the summer because they're off, but CMD keeps in contact with their drivers throughout the summer. We realize they're a risky group of individuals because they're going to be carrying a number of people in their vehicles with them. We have had conversations with CMD about what is appropriate, and we have no indication that we'll have any problems with our bus drivers. That being said, obviously, if one gets sick, we'll have to make sure we have replacements as best we can for them as we go forward.
Okay. Melanie Crawford at 10:37 said, I understand that we will make a choice of learning for our children. Will that be for the entire year, semester, and there be a change due to health status or worsening of virus?
Could you give me the time on that, please?
10:37. Melanie Crawford.
Got it.
You muted yourself again.
Sorry about that. You'll have a choice. Will that be for entire year? Probably not. Semester. What we're looking for probably would be a commitment. Again, I say this verbally because it's not in writing yet, but we would be looking for probably a marking period commitment in fairness to our teaching staff. If we went from hybrid, if the student tried out hybrid and said that they didn't like the hybrid or the face-to-face, we're thinking that they would be allowed to move to the virtual academy, Pottsgrove Virtual Academy, but then they would stay there for a period of time, like a marking period, because we can't really function in and out piece. We don't feel that would be productive. But I'll have more conversation with my administrators tomorrow and get a better feel for what they think about that type of piece revolving this situation.
Personal secretary now.
Anik Ruiz Brown at 10:38 said there should be 1 to 2 parents from each building on the team to discuss the health and safety plan. So it's a suggestion. Not a bad one. I think it's something that maybe we should consider. Um, 10:47, John Shantz said roughly 60% of the union teachers voted for all virtual now from a survey I conducted over the past day and a half. So that's good information for us to have. That's a big change from 25%.
And Ashley, if I may, that would be news to us. So we would need that piece to be shared, moving forward.
Yeah.
With that, and so.
Absolutely. Margaret Kushner at 10:48 said, in an effort to show support and increase communication, can the board add a section to the agenda for each meeting for the TU president or leadership to discuss topics? I don't know what the TU is. Oh, teachers union. Gotcha. That's something that we can discuss, I guess.
They always have a place at the table. And again, in times like this, obviously, there's more of a need to have that type of communication and feedback. So that's understood. But I think in my 6 years in the district and 4 years in this spot, there's always been a spot at the table during any meeting time, and past presidents have used that time to state different pieces. So that has happened, but it really hasn't happened that frequently. But it has happened in the last 6 years.
Okay, Marisa Neeson at 1048. Knowing we have had sub shortages in the past, is there any plan in place for the subs needed if and when someone is out for an extended period due to COVID?
There's a limited pool to begin with. So, I mean, we would obviously do everything we can. We do everything we can to supplement that pool every single day. So there's nothing that we can do to change the pool because of the current environment. We're just working every single day to grow that pool. So regardless of COVID or no COVID, we continue to just build that pool. So I don't know how to address it any better than that, than we're just constantly trying to increase that pool of substitutes.
Okay. John Chance again at 1048. He said, I will submit the final results to the board and the admin tomorrow. Thank you for all your work. I know this is not easy. The union is here to help. So, excuse me, I'm sitting outside and the bugs are getting bad. So thank you, John, for that. Marisa Neeson at 1050. If a student tests positive for COVID and needs to be home, will they have the option to participate in the online learning in order to stay up to date, assuming they are well enough to do so?
Yes, they will. One of the goals that we had when we finished our year was to have an expectation with our administrators and staff that it would be a seamless transition, so that at any time, I guess we were optimistic when we started that if we were all green, at day 25, if we had to go to a hybrid model, we would continue with day 26. And then, of course, if we had to go virtual, like on day 27, like the seamless learning would take place. So that's going to be our goal. That's a goal that we have 180 days of seamless education, whether we're in a virtual world, a hybrid world, or back to all green. That's our goal. It's lofty, but I think it's something that we need to keep in our forefront.
Okay, Stacy Messing at 1051. Does virtual learning mean BVA only, or also the virtual learning through classroom distance? I'm a little confused by the language virtual.
It doesn't necessarily mean BVA. That is our online cyber school at this time. What we are looking at is to have our own Pottsgrove Virtual Academy that runs synchronous with our curriculum. So that's really what we're looking to do, and that is our goal.
You said Bill answered it, Bill Parker?
Yeah, Bill.
I just gave an opinion, that's all.
It's actually not in the chat. It's under the answered ones. From Sarah
Oh,
Becker.
answered. Got it. Okay. Oh. Okay, I see. I would ask the board to strongly consider starting the year. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah Becker Freilich at 1033. I would ask the board to strongly consider starting the year following a strictly online model, ramping up the online teaching to include possibly more synchronous learning. Our children are not your guinea pigs, no matter what age. If you do not start strictly online, it will only be a matter of time until it be necessitated, throwing everyone into the same situation as March, scrambling to figure out what to do. Allow your staff this opportunity to properly plan how to deliver effective instruction. Be proactive. If you are concerned about special ed students, make it possible for them to attend in person 1 to 2 days a week, or as you see fit, to assist them in completing their online instruction with the assistance of your highly qualified classroom assistants and aides. Please do not force us to put our children in danger. So I think my apologies if I missed any. Sometimes when I was scrolling, it was scrolling a little too fast. I think I got everything. Let me just check the very bottom, see if anything came in. Okay. Will union members at the next board meeting have an opportunity to address the board in a public manner if they are not residents of Pottsgrove? And this is from Christine Morris at 10:58. I'm aware that typically this is reserved for residents. However, as a stakeholder in this process, I think it is important.
Mr. Davis?
I'm trying to unmute Bob. I'm having trouble. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My ThinkPad ran out of battery, so now I'm on the iPad. That is up to the board, but our policy says, no, you have to be a resident, and that's typically what we have done and what virtually every board does. But again, that's your call.
Can I just add a comment that I think the majority of us have made clear that it's very important to hear from the union, then be involved. When I say union, I mean the teachers, and that's a way to discuss all teachers. So I know there's meetings getting set up in the near future. We're sharing the plans with them, looking for their feedback, and we'll continue, to look for their feedback.
Look, certainly you should look for their feedback, and they should have a forum. I will tell you that the desire sometimes to negotiate, and some of this is negotiation publicly, is not the way I would ask the board to proceed.
Agreed from me.
And just to follow up too, thank you, Mr. Davis, and for your comments. Is that I know my history and my experience has been too that a lot of the comments are then given to people who are residents, if that's an issue, or district leadership, where they make a statement, for the group, so that all voices are heard. Whether it's a panel of 6 people, 5 people, 3 people, 1 person. I think that I've seen that operate in many ways, in my history and education. So I think there's definitely ways, Christine, to get your thoughts expressed and concerns to your leadership, and then they can relay that to our board.
I was muted. Okay. Thanks. And Mary Beth Gray at 10:57 said, in light of the note from the PGEA president, I encourage you to work directly with the leadership of the teachers union in making school opening decisions that affect both our students and teachers.
Agreed.
I agree too. Sharon Yergi at 11:01 said many teachers are residents, so that helps with them being able to comment and come to the meetings. Gloria Smith at 11:02. I have a question. It seems that every ailment now is COVID. Example, my brother had a sore throat and he called the doctor and they had him go get tested. It took a week to get the test results back. How is that going to work for an employee of the district or a student as far as being out of school until the results come back? What does that mean for my job with the district or my child being out of school for a long period of time?
It's a good question.
It is.
Well, I think some of the things we've talked about. I mean, obviously, for a student, they would go into the virtual learning piece. If we're not already in it or we're in a hybrid piece, they could go to virtual. And that would be the seamless learning part. And the employee piece, and Dr. Harney, to correct me if I'm wrong, there is time built in.
That's fine to me.
So that they can have that time off, either using the multiple ways of time off if it's a COVID related thing. Maybe you just want to emphasize that one more time.
That's correct. One of the reasons to utilize that 80 hours is if you were being tested and waiting for a result. If you were told to be tested by a medical professional and you needed to
2 weeks.
wait that out. So
Right.
80 hours is 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So it could be that you're waiting and then that expires, and then you would then have to go into a quarantine, which would go past that 80 hours. And at that point, we would have to talk about using sick time.
Thank you, Dr. Harney.
Okay. And then Daryl Tillman said, I'm a pharmacist in a hospital. COVID testing can be resulted within hours. I'm sure he knows better than any of us. I know nothing about that stuff, so take his word for it. As of right now, that's it, except Gloria Smith thanking us for answering her question. So again, if I missed any, my apologies to anybody I missed, but sometimes the scroll would get a little out of control, but I'm pretty sure I got everybody that put something out there.
Got a new one.
Where? Oh, okay. Valerie Dengler. What happens if multiple times in the year? What if it happens multiple times in the year, meaning kids or teachers have to be out of school?
Yeah, we're just gonna roll with it. I mean, if it's again, if they have to be out of school, then obviously there's a medical reason. I mean, is it a COVID? I'm not sure what Valerie's asking, but I mean, what happens if multiple times a year? Again, it depends. I mean, if we're in a hybrid model, then obviously you would go hybrid to virtual. And if this happens with someone who could possibly have COVID, or I think it's just going to be a seamless piece. I mean, we're just going to work ourselves through it, because we're going to establish the virtual academy so that we have a place that all students can learn throughout the year.
Okay. Is that it? Oh, she said, meaning teachers being exposed several times. So I guess she's saying, if someone's out, they were quarantined for 2 weeks and they come back, and then 3 weeks later, they're quarantined for another 2 weeks, which is really the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm. If you read my lips, I said, wow, we're going to have to, we would exhaust the 80, the 80 hours. We would look at sick time, and then we're just going to have to put our heads together to do what's best, for the employee. Yeah, that'd be a tough situation. That's the best answer I have on July 14th.
All right, as of right now, that's it. If we want to stick around a little longer, we can
It's almost
till
like
tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. Well, everybody, thank you for your patience. Thank you for participating in this. And as we keep mentioning, hopefully the last one of these that we do. Next time we'll see each other. Next time we'll be looking at each other and talking. We'll have 2 more weeks of data, 2 more weeks of information, 2 more weeks of experience and looking at, what we're seeing, 2 more bits of information to look at. Appreciate everybody's time tonight. Hopefully we've answered some questions. Hopefully we've gotten some more work. So everybody's had a chance to look at the plan that we did or that was done for the athletics and the marching band. Be advised that the plan for the other work, the overall health and safety plan, is similar to, longer than the plan for the athletics and marching band, but of a similar type. And we're going to be getting that out as we can do. As we mentioned, our intention was to have the meeting on or about the 30th. Maybe we keep to that date. Maybe we move it a little bit. We're just going to wait and see. We're going to be moving forward in consultation with the union. If we got off to a wrong foot, if we messed up with how we were dealing with the union, and I may have made that situation worse. We'll have to wait and see how things go. Maybe we push that meeting back. We just wait and see how that works. So we'll take it by ear, and we're going to just keep on doing the absolute best that we can, and trying to do work. For the folks who say, hold off and we don't want our kids to be guinea pigs, please be advised. Nobody who wants to keep their kid out is going to be forced to put their kid into school. That's not going to be the case. Only parents that want their kids to be in school are going to be putting their kids in school. That's been our plan right the way along. We're not going to be encouraging, forcing, or mandating that anybody come to school who's not comfortable coming to school. That's not where we are. And obviously anybody who's unsafe or who's not ready to come to school is going to be staying home. You have that virtual option. The reason we wanted to get the plan out, the reason we wanted to get the plan approved, the reason we wanted to get the plan out there is so that we could then follow that up with a survey so people could say, oh, here's the plan. Now I see what you're doing. Now I can make a decision, sort of the end of July, beginning of August, and say, I'm making an informed choice. I'm ready to come back. Oh, I'm making an informed choice. There's no way I'm going to come back. I'm going to keep my kid at home. And that would give us a bit more information to say, okay, we need these many teachers. We need these many virtual teachers. We need this. This is what we need to do. This is how many staff, because again, it has implications in terms of how many people we're going to need in the building. How many staff are we going to need to be doing the cleaning for the building? How many kids can we put in the classroom? How much busing are we going to need? All of those things are going to impact how we're going to be doing the work in the buildings. How much staff are we going to need? How's all that going to work? How many virtual teachers are we going to need? How many cameras are we going to need? All of that stuff has to come in. That's still planning that we have to do. And we're going to, at that point, we're going to have 3-4 weeks to do that. So it all comes to a piece. It is happening in order, but it's got to happen. Needs time to do that. So that's why we're looking to have these things happen sort of one after another after another. And that's where we are. So that's the end of us talking for this evening. There we are. I think that's it. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, worries, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.